All right. Have Mike.
We are live. Holy shit. Oh, just an aside, folks. If you're listening, yes, we curse. I curse. We probably all will curse.
Alyssa doesn't curse, so
No.
that's gonna be a welcome addition.
Yeah,
She's very demure.
I'm a little wallflower.
Yeah, I drop the F bombs like they're going out of style. So, folks, welcome to Talking Crit. We are
Sorry,
late
we're late.
because
My fault. My fault entirely.
No, actually, no, could be my fault because I was the one that just went. Well, this is actually our normal time, not to be on time, so I didn't really get nervous until I got nervous. So, in any case, I am Eric Tenkar. The man below me on your screen, center bottom, is Bad Mike, and I guess to my stage, right, all right,
left,
whatever. Next to me, that isn't me, is none other than world-renowned cartographer, Alyssa Faden.
Thank you, Eric. It's been. I think I spoke to both of you in the middle of the whole COVID thing last year, and not since. I missed you both.
It's been a long time, and you haven't been able to make any cons because of everything going on. So we didn't get to see it in North Texas or anything like that. So this is great to see. And
the first person I chatted to, like when the whole COVID thing was really, really gripping the country, and I lost contact with all of you. You know, we hadn't done conventions together for a while. The first person I chatted to was actually Eric. I always remember because I had this shit-eating grin on my face. It was like, these are my peeps. I'm back. This is good.
Well, you remember you had me on your show. I don't remember when, but I just saw the video again recently, and I remember you had. I think you were doing the maps. Were you doing Necropolis still, or no? You were doing. I can't remember what maps you were doing. No, you were doing. I think you were doing Necropolis maps, but it was way back. It was way back. You had me on your show once. I'll have to look for it.
The Frogs don't give me projects unless it lasted like a year and a half or something like that. So it's very possible.
Oh.
Hey,
so
Bob.
I was on there, and so that was fun. But one of the reasons we're having on the show is because I'm sorry, Alyssa. We saw you with those. I don't even know what you call
those
them.
Degenerates. I think, and that actually maybe
unprofessional.
Maybe degenerates is an insult to degenerates. Maybe we should be using something that's a bit.
I even hate to mention the show because it gives them a little pub because we're at how many subscribers now, Eric?
About 975. We
975.
We are like
we're pushing our 1,000 for
this close. Yeah. This close to giving shit away.
And GDZ has like 25. I mean, it's all their family too. It's really, and so we saw you on the show and we felt so bad for you because we had Mark on. And by the way, we had Mark on actually before the Kickstarter ended. So we actually, got some Kickstarter bounce out of it, not unlike those two morons that had Mark and you on after the Kickstarter was over. But we won't talk about them too much because we don't want to give them any pub. GDZ with Zach Glazer and Skeeter Green. We don't want to give them any pub, but yeah, we saw you and we're like going, she needs to be on a real professional talk show on YouTube, but not that.
And failing that, our show.
Yes, because we can't get you a professional show, so we'll have you on Talking Crit.
I'll tell you what. I mean, we did a few shows together, Mark and I, during the whole Necropolis thing. There was only one show that did a Necropolis interview after the crops has closed.
Interesting.
So there was definitely some degree of variance of skill. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Well, you're in the hands of semi-professionals now, so it's going to be okay, Alyssa. We're not gonna treat you like they did. I heard that they didn't even have a green room for you, and that they made you wait outside on the corner, and then they invited you in. I heard it was really terrible. So I heard they did some stuff. They did some mean things to Jack too, which is we love Jack.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure anyone ever does anything bad to Jack.
Everybody loves Jack. We all love.
Jack. In fact, if anything, they were like, "You can get off the show, Faden. We'll take Jack instead." And I think that's a universal sentiment.
Great. It's a team effort. We like Jack too, but we don't mind you. We'll have you on. But no, we're so happy to see you.
Yes.
we're just, I mean, we can't, you're one of our favorite people to have on. And Eric and I were just talking a month ago about the fact this has been an absolute sausage fest of a talk show this entire year, except for having Liz Stewart on, who came on with Mike also. And that was January 1st. That was like the first show of the
was
year.
it that? Oh my God.
Yes.
It was that long
And so
ago.
we're like,
Holy
we need to
shit.
have more female guests on here. This is turning into a huge sausage fest. So obviously your name popped up at the top of the list. I mean, we've got a few more. We're looking. Hopefully, Alice Peng will be feeling better.
Nice.
We've got her on the list, and she's doing really, really well after operation.
Yes.
So we're hoping to have her on because she's absolute joy to have on too. And so, but you're a joy also. So it's great to have you here, and we're going to talk about your projects and what you're doing and what you're looking forward to in the future. And hopefully, you'll share some stuff with us here. And so,
I'm sure I can do that.
All right. Well, you are working on a huge. Like, speaking of year-long projects that the Frog stuck you on.
They never do that.
The last time we met here, you were doing Teagle Manor, and that was a long and involved project. And have you done anything since Teagle Manor? I don't think you've done anything else for Frog God since Teagle Manor, did you?
No, nothing to speak of.
But they somehow roped you into Necropolis.
Yes. Yeah, so I vow, the truth is, guys, I actually don't really like doing dungeon maps too much. There's a lot of very, very, very talented people out there that can do dungeon maps, get a really good look at it, a look to it. And I feel like my sweet spot, my branding is like just really cool city maps. That's what I feel like I do very, very well. So I don't like to wander into the waters of, will you do a tavern map? Because it's like, there's a million people out there that can do that. And I like to draw demented. What am I going to do with a tavern unless I start drawing like the grains of wood, in each floorboard, which is what I end up doing. But the Frogs have a way of asking that is a little bit like the Mafia in a way. It's like, you are doing this next. And it's like, I am doing this next. So I vowed that I was never going to do another one after Teagle. Teagle I saw as my big sort of Sistine Chapel. And then they came across with Necropolis. And I knew Necropolis was really special to them, and it was really special to Bale. So I'm like, of course I'm going to do it. Plus, it was Egyptian inspired. And I'm all about Egypt right now because of my whole Masks of Nyarlathotep Hatab game. It's right. And honestly, I kind of like redoing canon projects, your Teagle Manors, your Necropolises, where you're reinventing something that is already established. I love doing that. So that lasted, I would say, about a year. I worked on it for about a year.
Damn.
Well, this is kind of interesting project because I'm sure you've talked about this in interviews. This was a Gary Gygax project, and there's not a lot of those floating around that just are waiting to be redone. But you have these. I have both the version of the first version and then the Necromancer Games version, and there are a lot of maps in here, and there's a lot of crazy maps in here. Now, one of the things you're known for, Alyssa, and I know this because I was somewhat in charge of helping, or not helping you, but we went over the Teagle map together, and we look at the room description, and then we both look at everything there, and you would decide, okay, I can put this in here, and the level of detail on the Teagle map is insane, to the point of the room description said there is a bowl of porridge on a table with a blue spoon in it and one Lucky Charm in there. My God, you would draw that, and it blew me away. And so, have you had any of those kind of experiences with Necropolis also?
I will say this, yes, but I want to say that Teagle really, really, really had those wonderful sort of little pieces of detail to the rooms. And Necropolis, certainly the original Necropolis, was lighter on that. So I actually had to add a lot myself. But I did that in Teagle too. And then, I sat down with Mark Greenberg, and we started to go through his draft rewrite. And he started to pick up on some of the things that I had done with the map already and started bringing it in to his map. So it became a little bit more two-way. this time, I would draw something that wasn't on the original map. Mark added it to the writing. I definitely had fun with it. I definitely have the details in there, believe me. But I will also say that the details were lighter in the Necropolis map. So I had to actually put a lot more of me into it. You know, it would say something like, there are 6 alcoves on the left wall, you know, which are changing rooms for whatever creatures that live here. And that would be it. So it'd be up to me to then decide what are in those changing rooms. And that's when Alyssa Faden kicked in, and I've got little necklaces and perfume bottles and jewelry boxes and all sorts of little Easter eggs and things in there too.
Yeah, we heard about the Easter eggs.
I'm just going through your noble dwarf sales page for people who might want to check out some of your maps that are for sale. I have a few of these, so I'm just throwing that out there, folks. High quality stuff, but just background noise for people who are listening to us. They can go to Noble Dwarf and pick the stuff up. Continue.
It's actually some of the stuff on Noble Dwarf, they carry my canvas maps, and it's archival quality canvas. It doesn't fade. They're guaranteed for hundreds of years. They also do t-shirts and cups, and I actually have samples of all. I have one of their cups, and they're really cool. You know, one thing I love about my maps is some of the colors and the layout, and you slap that bad boy in the side of a cup or a canvas print on the wall. And they look nice, you know, and I'm not saying that because I drew the damn thing. Just some of them honestly look kind of cool. So I appreciate the shout out on that.
And also, so a question from Lou here. He said that how does one do it? I think that means 8 foot, not 8 inches map. Does your computer hold the detail without glitching at times? You break it down. And for those of you who don't know, Alyssa does a really awesome Twitch channel. She has a Twitch channel where she draws her map and talks. It's really cool. I haven't showed up in a while, but I used to show up all the time. And it's fun because you get just to watch her kind of do her thing while she's doing it. And one of the things that's really cool is the amount of detail she puts in maps. But I've noticed, unfortunately, sometimes when those maps shrink, you do have a problem seeing the details. What's the ideal, when you do a map, what's your ideal size for a map?
Well, and that somewhat varies. To the original question of like, how do you do an 8-foot map? That's a really good question. Tegel was 12 feet by 12 feet. Necropolis I drew at 60 inches by 80 odd inches. And for Tegel, I forget the actual drawing size, but it was smaller than the final 12 feet by 12 feet, and it was just a higher DPI. And I did have some separate files that in Photoshop, you can kind of almost bring them together as external smart objects. So I definitely had some of that going on. But because my old computer handled it so well, when I actually started drawing Necropolis, I was like, screw it. I'm going to go more DPI, and I'm drawing an actual size. And my old computer was like, oh, no, you're not. Oh, no, you're not. The file was huge. It's the largest file I've ever worked on. And I had to buy another rig, and I bought a top-of-the-line rig. In fact, the money that the frogs paid me to do their map, I immediately bought a computer with it to draw their map. So there's kind of like an oddity there, but they basically bought me a computer and said, draw us a map.
They bought you a computer. Okay, never mind. I'll just have to bring that up in my next meeting with Zach about that. No.
They didn't know
I'm just kidding.
They bought me a computer for the map, but
they bought me a computer too.
I had to go stout. You know, I had to just buy some serious hardware. And even then, sometimes my Wacom tablet would go, I'm just going to choke now for 10 seconds, you know? So it definitely had some moments like that. But otherwise, you know, typically, do I like to draw that large? No, I don't. That's the truth. I do tend to draw twice as large as print size. So if you tell me that you're actually going to put something on a 2-page spread that's maybe, you know, 17 inches by whatever, I'm going to draw it 34 inches by whatever. And that way you can shrink it down and it still holds its fidelity of detail, but you can also blow it up into a poster and you lose none of the quality. So that's my sweet spot. Whatever your print size is, I'm probably going to do it around double that. And And I like drawing single page spreads, 2-page spreads. I like drawing posters too, the 24 inches, 30 odd inches, that type of thing. I've only done 2 super large maps, and both have been for the frogs.
By the way, I like to say there's a whiskey alert here. I've killed the bottle of Bullet. So any whiskey companies, I'm going to do my weekly compelling argument. Please give me sponsored by a whiskey company.
He's begging.
I know,
you.
It's a bit.
Wants to.
I know it's a bit, but you never know. Maybe Maker's Mark will watch one of these and think, "Hey, this big fat guy needs some more whiskey in his body." So I'm working on my last bottle. Donations are accepted. I'm sorry. Donations are required. Actually, I'm not. So we'll see what we have next week. I think we're going to hit the Woodford Reserve next week and finish that bottle.
That's a good one. Bullet's good. Woodford's good.
Oh. I'm kind of working right now with what I was. So at the con, you'll love this, Alyssa. So when I first started doing my Satan bit, I had this picture of me sitting next to a bottle of Maker's Mark. It was just something I had there at the warehouse. It wasn't something I drink a lot of, and I started getting all these free bottles of Maker's Mark. People would come to the convention and just hand me bottles of Maker's Mark. And one year, Chris handed me this comically large bottle like that. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was getting free booze for like years. And so this year after the con, Gary brought over a box. He said, "Oh, I think this stuff's in there for you." And there's like 5 bottles of whiskey in there. There's a Bullet. There's, just different kinds. And I said, "What is this?" He goes, "Oh, it's just donated to the con. People said that you wanted some whiskey. That they didn't want to buy you Maker's Mark. They thought they'd buy you something a little nicer." I'm like, this gig gets better and better.
That's so good. That's so good. And I do see a question there, Dandy. Definitely answer that in a second because I have an answer. But one of the funniest moments I've ever had at a convention was North Texas. It was of course, it was the midnight auction, and Bill Webb bought that bottle of whiskey. Remember? I think it might have been.
Oh my God!
Remember that?
That was
and he was like,
yes.
How much for that bottle of whiskey? And you got maybe a couple of $100 out of him or something ridiculous like that, and then you emptied it out and gave him the bottle.
That was because that is what the devil does. He tricks you.
Yes.
He's a liar. Because it was technically.
It was perfect.
Everybody was rolling. That was great.
It was like a wish spell. It was like, oh, son of a bitch.
That's what it was.
You got lawyered.
Big bottle of Maker's Mark up there, auctioning stuff while Bill Webb goes, "How much for the bottle?" Just like you said. And then we auction the bottle off, and then we poured out all the whiskey. That was great. We didn't pour it on the ground or anything. We drank it afterwards. But yes, that was the look on Bill's face. And he wasn't even mad because he knew he got taken. He knew. He knew that by the letter of the law, like you said, Eric, a wish spell. By the letter of the law, he got the bottle. He just didn't get the contents. He needs to be a little more specific about that wish spell. But I'm glad you remember that. I'd forgotten all about that.
It's brilliant. And Dandy, sorry, bear with us for a moment. One of the other funniest moments was the same auction. It was the row behind Guppy having Guppy's number.
Yes.
Oh God, yes.
And just the numbers were going up all of the time, and it took a while for him to figure it out. And he turned around, and there's like 12 people holding Guppy's number up, and it was so funny. Jesus Christ, man!
That's how great the midnight auction's gotten. Because I do bits. We always do bits during the auction. It's gotten to where people in the auction are doing bits out in the audience. I mean, I'm not even this year. Jim Kitchen was doing bits. Skeeter was doing bits. Everybody was doing bits. So I don't even I could just sit back at this point and run the auction, and everybody else is the entertainment at this point. Although I do like to be entertained. I'm a narcissistic human being. So yes, I do like to have fun. But yes, it's great when people do their own bits like that, Alyssa. Because I didn't even have anything to do with that. That was all thought up by Ian and Rocky and those jokers. And that was pretty funny because yes, there was like 15 people holding up Guppy's number, bidding on stuff. He's sitting there going, "I'm not bidding on this. I'm not bidding." And they're bidding up stuff, bidding it up. And so then of course we made Guppy pay for it because that's just what we do at the midnight auction.
Of course.
Well, it's Guppy. Come on.
He still had to pay for it. So Lou here, Dandelion, and says he suggests a place to get larger maps printed cheaply or just at a reasonable price. And
Okay, that's a really good question. So, and I can answer at least it from my personal experience because I do it all of the time. I don't have a virtual tabletop yet. I've always imagined getting like this 50-inch screen TV on the table or something, but I print off my own maps and I'll print them to scale. And particularly recently, because I've been running a lot of Call of Cthulhu, I do props for Call of Cthulhu, or if the players are going to Cairo, I go to the government website, the Library of Congress. I grab the high-res version of Cairo off that site. But this sucker's going to print at 40 inches in size. That's a big map. You can't go to, like, Office Depot or something without spending well over $100. And they start getting, they turn into arseholes too. They're like, well, do you own this map? And like, we can't print this because you don't own the copyright, and it's bullshit. Expensive bullshit. So, I found a local place. Seriously, they do blueprints. They actually handle architectural prints. It's called Rose City Print here in Portland, but I'm sure most cities is going to have one. And they they print big and do it freaking cheap. I went from like over $100 to like $15 for this massive print on a great quality paper. And, you go in there a couple of times too, and, you're printing game-related stuff or really cool-looking stuff, while normally they're just doing architectural prints and things. So they start to take a bit of a shine to you. It's like, what are you doing? What is this? Why are we printing this massive cave system, And so they start to like you, and you could start just getting into a sort of relationship where it's like, well, print it on whatever, whatever you think is appropriate for the color and the amount of ink on this. And it's been a great experience, and I've been using them for years. And they're dirt cheap compared to the office stores. So look up your architectural print places, your blueprint places, and you're going to get cheaper without. And they can print big too.
Wow, that is great advice. I would have never thought of that. That is great advice, Alyssa. And you've done, and we could talk about your maps all day long, and you're known for that. But I'm going to ask you a question I don't think I've ever asked you. Have you ever wanted to, or have you ever done just regular art? Or is that something that even interests you at all?
Oh man, I am shit. I am terrible. I could be dangerous if I could draw. I call it traditional artwork, but I was like this as a kid though too. It's like I could do a Roman amphitheater full of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and there were stick figures, right? And it was more your meticulous insanity that I did. But could I draw it in a traditional sense? No. Can I draw an apple? No. A hand? A face? No. And I wish I could. I genuinely wish I could, because you know what it's like, as a writer, as someone in this hobby, you've got this imagination of characters and places. Can you imagine if I could draw the places that I've been mapping out? Jesus Christ, man, I could be dangerous. No, I can't. I can't. It's actually been a stretch for me to start to do cutaways and 3D and things like that. That's beginning to push my limit, and I'll get better at it. But can I then like draw a village up on a hill surrounded by trees? Yeah, but it will look pretty crappy. There's going to be a lot better people out there. Raven, Lloyd's daughter, would be so much better than me at it. So I definitely have my limits.
She's better than anybody at everything.
She's so good.
She's ridiculous. I told her her father, she's already better than you, but she is. I mean, some people just have talent. She does, and now she wants to do cartography. So you better watch out, Alyssa.
Oh, I know. Actually, she's been drawing a couple of pieces for me. She's been coloring some pieces for me. I love working with her quite a bit. And if she wants to keep growing in the cartography field, I've got no problem helping her along the way.
I know. I wish I had just even a little bit of that talent, because I stick figures are even beyond my capabilities now, and maps definitely. When I write my own adventure, or when I run adventures, I always had a problem drawing maps, and so I just stole maps all the time. I stole maps from everywhere. I stole maps from any product that came out. I would take the map and just redo the map, and to this day I still do that. And then Eric found this great program online that just makes maps for you. It's the greatest thing ever, because I just use that all the time. There's been programs like that before, but I love to use programs. Yeah, it's really good, and the maps look really nice. And so, yeah, I just can't do map. I can't draw a map. I don't even know where to begin. It just amazes me that when your mind works that way, because I just end up drawing a long hallway and there's a big room and there's a hallways going. I mean, I just have no imagination when it comes to
Well,
stuff.
and it's certainly back in the day. I think honestly, I think it's fair to say there has been a proliferation of talent in recent years. I think with electronic drawing devices, with the advent of YouTube, videos, I think with online forums, it's really propelled, I think, artistry in a very significant way, because everyone is able to see each other's work and emulate it and share ideas and things. And we're just going to see more and more and more of that. One thing that used to be true and is to a degree nowadays is a traditional artist can't necessarily draw a map. And a person that can draw a map can't necessarily do traditional artwork. There's almost using two different parts of the brain. There are some very powerful people out there that can span the two disciplines. But it's not unusual to get someone that's very good at one but not the other. That was pretty common back in the day.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I have no artistic ability either way, whether it is quote art or maps. That's why I need programs like this. Now, if I could only get a program that could do artwork for me, I'd be happy as a pig in shit.
Well, and there are some brilliant ones out there. Anna Meyer and myself, when we do the mapping show, we're definitely going to cover some of the tools that are out there. And the tools are just getting better and better and better, where you can create a great looking map. I think one of the things that kind of differentiates me from a lot of the cartographers out there, if I may toot my own horn for a moment, is I think because I am a gamer, because I am a GM, because I have done a lot of writing for myself, I'm able to actually almost think about the map in a different way. It becomes an extension of my writing. I want to start adding things to the map that are more story hooks. I want to make them more believable. And I think a combination of growing up in a town that was 2,000 years old in Europe in general, and playing Dungeons and Dragons since the 80s, has made me a better cartographer, to be honest with you. Even pieces like we've got up on the screen right here. There's a lot of just, I want to say, almost written expression that I've put into this that has come from all of those role-playing sessions.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that gaming helps in almost every profession out there. I know when I was working retail and selling electronics, my ability to interact with people and run a game session was great in trying to make sales. When I was a cop, if I didn't know what to do, I always told myself, role play a cop. Take it from that angle. What would you do if you actually were a cop? I am a cop. No. Just pretend you're one. What would you do? And you know what? 9 times out of 10, it was probably the right decision. And the other one time, nobody was paying attention anyway. But I really think that role-playing and the ability to interact with others and sit at a table, negotiate amongst your fellow players, these are life skills that you don't necessarily get elsewhere, or at least not as easily and as quickly and as painlessly as you get in gaming. So
I think there's a huge amount of truth to that. Hey, Pex, good to see you here, my friend.
Pex.
Pex. We don't need you to do our schedules no more. We do our own schedule.
No, do GDZ schedule, because we want you to keep.
Yeah, you keep with GDZ.
Yeah.
John, I will answer that question in a second. Eric, I'm going to actually start doing a little bit of a mini series about DMing, because I think I'm a reasonable DM, and I'm not saying I'm like the world's best by any stretch of the imagination, or that my advice is good for everyone, but I'm going to start doing a mini series of GMing advice that I've picked up over the decades. And one of them is, a lot of people really struggle with ad-libbing, and a story was told to me recently where a GM waked out on his player because the player asked if there was a local pub or a tavern to go to. And because it wasn't in the scenario, this GM just lost his shit. So it gave me it reminded me that one of the things you can do, and it's similar to what you were saying, Eric, where you can pull on these real world skills that you've got, is you just start to actually talk about a place that you've been. You described the pub that you were at 20 years ago or so. And I always remember running a Dungeons and Dragons game in a dungeon, and that dungeon had the same layout of the house that we were sat in. I was ad-libbing it. And no one made the connection. I was describing this corridor with stairs going up. On the right-hand side, there's a big oak door. It was the entrance to the bloody house we were in. And no one twigged. And I think that's one of the things as a GM you can do is tap into the real-world skills, tap into real-world places you've been or people you've met and describe them, you know?
Yes. I love improving. I love ad-libbing because for me, when I DM, that's what makes the game interesting for me because it keeps me on my toes and it makes me creative. Running a game going by the script is not creative. Having your players push you off the script is where your creativity shines. If you have
absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think as a GM, you have to be able to go off script a little bit. You have to be. Because honestly, it can be, especially in Call of Cthulhu, it can be as simple as a player saying, is there a local post office we want to get? Well, that's not going to be in the book. You can't say just no because it's not in the book. You've got to be willing to fill in the gaps, you know?
Yeah.
So I was going to say, you talk about Call of Cthulhu. One of the things that when I ran Call of Cthulhu, my favorite obviously is the 20s era, is I got a whole stack of books about the 20s. So when players ask me stuff like, with just oddball things like, is there ballpoint pens in this time or something? I could throw that out there. The times I didn't know it, I just riffed, I just bullshitted, and they didn't know any better because they weren't looking up Google or something, so they would ask me, like, oh, we're gonna do this. Okay, well, what kind of gasoline does the car use? I go, oh, does it, So I knew a lot of stuff about the 20s, but what I didn't know, I could bullshit enough to where they were like, okay,
with authority.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but that bullshit with authority is probably the mantra of every cop. I still remember as a rookie, one of our instructors in the academy told us, if you're ever asked a question by a civilian and you don't have the right answer, think up one that comes damn close to it. Because the worst thing you can do to a civilian who thinks in many ways you are the font of all knowledge and you are God, which is what the DM is to go, I don't know, let me check on that. This is before cell phones, before smart devices. You were out there in the late 90s. Where's the world? Where's the Empire State Building as you're standing next to it? Tell the guy to make 4 rights. And then when he runs it back where he was, it's right there. He found it. But, there were times when I worked in areas, for a day that I had no clue. I was not a Manhattan cop. And people ask me for directions. Where's the nearest Barnes & Noble? It's about 4 or 5 blocks south on 2nd Avenue. Because you know what? If they don't find it, they're going to find something.
They're going to,
they're away from me.
This circles back to John's question in a way, because I always remember a tourist in my hometown. My hometown was a very touristy place because it was 2,000 years old. And John sitting there saying, yes, but where was it? It was a place called Chester, still is, the place still exists. It was established by the Romans on the Welsh border, used to be called Diva, to keep the Welsh out and under control. I lived at one point literally in a house where if I crossed the road, I was in Wales. I was on the border. It has intact Roman walls. And with 2,000 years of history, you can probably imagine the architecture of it. It's a fantastic, beautiful city. Look it up, Chester in Cheshire. It's incredible. It went through the English Civil Wars and everything. But I always remember a tourist walking up to me, asking for directions, and with absolute authority, I told him exactly where to go. And about 5 minutes down the road, I was like, motherfucker, I just sent him on the other side of town, and I am wrong. And I didn't do it on purpose. And to this day, I remember that. I literally, like, he walked up to me and he was like, "Where's such and such?" And I remember to this day going, "Oh, you're nowhere near. Oh no, you've got to go the other. You've got to go over there.
You're still nowhere near because."
Oh God. And I went around the corner. I was like, toot, 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 toot. I was like, oh, fuck. What he wants is literally, oh, God. So, yeah, to this day, that guy's probably still lost.
He's still wandering around. He probably wandered into Wales, and knowing Welsh people, he's probably they cooked him and ate him or something, because that's a crazy place. I went there in '84. I went to Wales, and Wales it's different than England. It really is. It's different.
One of the things I love about Great Britain in general, and I say Great Britain on purpose because I want to throw in Scotland and Ireland and Wales. They do have this incredible history, but collectively, you can literally just go half an hour down the road and you've got different people on your hands. You've got a different accent. Sometimes you can't even understand them, and you've got a different culture. And definitely going into Wales, particularly South Wales, any part of Ireland, almost any part of Scotland, northern Scotland. Oh, you're in a different time zone at that point. You're like you're back 1,000 years ago, and if you have my accent, they hate you for it. But it's beautiful. It's so diverse. It's very, very quickly you can really get all of these different experiences.
Yeah, it's so interesting growing up there, because one of the things you realize when you finally go to England, if you go there, if you haven't been there, everybody needs to go there, because it's the motherland of America. It's where it's who we kicked the ass of to become America. It's England. We love them now though, but we love them. Yeah, we love them now. But you got to go there. But one thing you realize is that you'll be sitting there in a pub that's 600 years old, and then you walk across to a church that's 700 years old, and you think that this is older than the entire country I live in. And I come from a city where the oldest building is from like 1920, and so you just think it's just so amazing, the history here. And it's no wonder that you grew up to be the Roman file you are, because you are a huge, is that right word, Roman file?
I think that's a fair, Romanophile, yeah.
But yes, if you are on her page and look, she is continually extolling the virtues of the Roman Empire, which is funny. It's a good bit. The other bit that I love is you and Tom Tullis. Those are the two bits you got to come for. Come for her talking about Roman stuff, and then stay for her insulting Tom Tullis. Those are the two things you.
Oh, anybody insulting Tom Tullis? Come on.
But your interest. I mean, obviously, but your interest in Roman, everything Roman. It's so pure and beautiful. I love it when you talk about that stuff, because it's obvious that's just something you love and something you know a lot about.
I'm very passionate about history in general. There are definitely periods of history that I'm less interested in, but history I love. I genuinely wish more people pursued it, because honestly, there's parts of history that are like soap operas. I defy anyone to read certain stories and not just be enthralled at the stupidity of certain people, the bravery of others. It's like, if you like the Kardashians, I guarantee there's the equivalent of that in history on steroids, and so I'm just really, really, really passionate about history. I do love history, and the Napoleonic period and the Roman period, particularly, the Republic period of Rome, and the Imperial, early Imperial, middle Imperial, perhaps, Rome. I genuinely love. And, I encounter people that are, how could you like the Romans when they had slaves? And it's like, it's so thin of a response. It's not cerebral. It's kind of a stupid response, because life was just so different back then. There's so much more depth to it. Is everything that they do or did great? No, absolutely not. I do not extol all of their values, but I do acknowledge their values were 2,000 years ago. And as a people, as an empire, as an engineering skill, as an intelligence, as even they're just walking around like sort of saying, you Greece, all of that's now ours. We're just going to take it as Oz, it almost becomes joke-like and comical. And I don't see why people couldn't fall in love with that. It's a fascinating period to me.
No, I was a history major, and my areas of concentration were the Middle Ages and World War II. And I liked history because, well, unlike other subjects, history, you got yourself in the right ballpark, you generally got credit. You didn't, if you knew a timeline, you didn't have to know the times. You just have to know, you only had to know the order to, do okay with it. Sadly, the only instructor that was doing ancient history in my college was emotionally disturbed and a loon, and I had to drop his class 2 days in because that was where we were going to get ancient Greece and Rome. And yeah, I was like, I actually want to get my degree, and it's not going to happen if I take this class. So I had to drop it.
So you're a Call of Cthulhu fan, right, Alyssa? So have you played Cthulhu Invictus? Because that seems the obvious question. And that of all the different eras of Call of Cthulhu, I've played the 20s, and we've also done some modern Call of Cthulhu. But the one I've always wanted to play is Cthulhu Invictus, which is Call of Cthulhu set during the Roman times. Have you ever ran a scenario?
I own it. I've played it. I've run it at conventions, and I actually did a map for Botanica for Golden Goblin Press, which is coming out hopefully a little bit later this year.
Okay. Nice.
And that's one of my favorite maps actually that I've ever done, because I got to actually research Roman occupation of Britain, of all things. But to answer your question, Mike, yeah, absolutely. In fact, to expound upon that a little bit, I started going to conventions a few years ago or so, and I was invited as a cartographer, and I am a cartographer, I acknowledge that. But it's a part of me. It's just part of what I am. I'm a passionate gamer. I'm a passionate GM. I'm a passionate historian. And I started then attending these conventions thinking, but I love Cthulhu. I love Rome. I'm more than cartography. Let's start running Cthulhu Invictus. And so I want to say, obviously COVID kind of got in the way of everything, but yeah. I ran Cthulhu Invictus at Gamehole a couple of years ago. I ran it at TotalCon just before COVID hit. And then I ran several virtual Invictus games last year, including GaryCon.
Well, if we have you at North Texas next year, which hopefully there'll be an announcement about that in a few months, I want you to run some Cthulhu Invictus, because I know that Alex he did dress up, man. Alex Kamer, he's a drama queen. He wore the suit and he had everything going, and he ran some Cthulhu Invictus there. I think you could one-up him on that. I really do.
So did you never, you actually have my armor in storage.
It's still
I
here, yes.
wore that armor at Gamehole Con.
Uh-huh.
When I was GMing Cthulhu Invictus. Yeah, that's not a problem. Alex and I think, have a desire to work together on a project at some point, because we're both very passionate about it.
Oh, you'd be great. Although you probably have a clash here or there, because you're both strong, powerful individuals. And,
but wouldn't it be kind of cool, maybe even to have 2 tables with 2 different groups, 2 different games going, Alex running one, me running another, and partway through, we swap tables because you've actually been playing the same adventure and you don't know it from 2 different sides,
We tried that once at North Texas about, 10 years ago, and it flopped. It was so bad. We had but it wasn't really thought out very well. But what we did was we had 4 different tables, each playing a different genre. We had a sci-fi game going, a Boot Hill game going, a D&D game going, and I can't remember what the other one was. Oh, it was apocalyptic. It was like a Gamma World. And we played for an hour. Then after an hour, everybody switched tables. They didn't know they were going to do this. And so we had them switch tables. They had brought their character to another table. Basically, they were going through time. They were time traveling. And we thought it was really kind of a cool idea. And then after every hour, you have to switch. And at the end, you'd have a big confrontation wherever you were. They hated it. The players hated it, because what happened was we started figuring out players, they get used to that one game, they get in this whole mindset, okay, I'm playing Boot Hill, and they get in the Boot Hill mindset, then all of a sudden, boom, you're in Gamma World. They just
Right.
don't like that. They're like, no, I want to play in X system. That's why I signed up for this system. Now, the one you're doing would be a little better because it's the same system. It's just you're going to be playing different characters.
I came to the conclusion a long time ago that as a GM, and you can get away with this to a degree, but the more alien you make something for your players, the harder you make it for their brain to sync with what you're doing, the more of a struggle you're going to have. And because I've got this idea for a world that no one has done yet. I can't even figure out how to map the damn thing. It's so alien. But I never ended up doing anything with it because I think actually players would struggle. And I could easily see players like being in that Boot Hill mode and suddenly off to Gamma World and their brains breaking a little bit from that. But if you took them from Boot Hill to Boot Hill, just a different part of Boot Hill, I think they would track that easier. And it's not like their own little character, you know. It's less disruptive to their brain patterns.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
John, by the way, thank you very much. Even though none of that money goes to me, huge amount of love to you. Honestly, the Troll Lord Games Gaxmore map was a huge slice of fun for me and one of the high points in my cartography career to date. Being able to redraw something that was canon, so you got to stay true to it. You can't redraw the complete shape of Gaxmore because people go, what the fuck is that? You've got to be able to draw something that means something to people. They need to visually see it and go, Gaxmore, but make it better. That was a huge amount of fun. And I did it in the same way. I was on Twitch at the time and I would read a description and I would draw that part of the city. And it was a blast. It was a real blast.
You didn't get paid for it?
Oh, I got paid for it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not on commission though.
Okay,
now.
all right. I thought, wait a second. That's a lot of work you did for free. Come on.
I understood. She's been paid already.
I didn't. All right.
The trolls are like a second family to me. The frogs are my first family. But the trolls have been, they're good peeps.
They are.
Yeah.
They are very. We like the trolls too. Trolls keep gaming rolling. They're one of the good guys out there, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. So Paul has played in one of my Invictus games. He actually was in one of my virtual games last year too, and we only got partway through, and then trying to hustle or get a whole bunch of people together that's able to finish it off proved not going to happen. And Paul, we are going to finish that game because I'm going to rerun the same one at Gamehole.
Nice. She doesn't get a percentage of sales, unlike Scarlett Johansson.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Scarlett.
Poor Scarlett. She's gonna get her money. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about Scarlett. I think she's gonna be fine. Scarlett's gonna be fine. She's gonna get a big old check from Disney eventually. And just like you'll get a big check from Frog God, I'm sure any day now. So well, so you said you're going to be running a Call of Cthulhu campaign soon. Can you let us know any details of that, or are you going to be running it on Twitch, or?
Well, that's a really good question. So I have my own personal group, like in real life, and we've started regaming, like I want to say about 6 weeks ago or so. That was great. You know, everyone's vaccinated, getting back together after a year and a half away from the gaming table. Oh my God. That's Masks of Nyarlathotep that I'm running there. The big campaign. And that is, that's a blast.
It's great
to do. So that's my real game in real life. But I'm going to start running nothing but Call of Cthulhu style games at conventions, whether it be, I'm going to do the 1920s, medieval, maybe some early 1800s, and obviously Invictus. And that's going to be the thing I get known for. I'm going to run a lot of that. And I'm going to try and ensure that the games are connected in some capacity. So you could take the same character potentially between games, and there's an unfurling storyline. You know, so years into it, if you've been playing a few of my games, you start to see how things are aligning and connecting. So we'll see.
Masks is, so I've told this story many times, but Masks is my all-time favorite campaign for any game. And I ran a mass campaign in the 80s. It was the best campaign I've ever run in my life and the most fun I've ever had. We had a group. It was my brothers and a couple of people. We had 2 people that played. One person had never played Call of Cthulhu before, but had played role-playing games. We had another person there that had never played role-playing games in their life. And so we're rolling up characters, and we're telling them about what Call of Cthulhu is. They said, "Well, can I play Indiana Jones?" We said, "Of course you can." Well, so we're looking, okay, you have to be good with a whip and this and that. So they basically rolled up and played Indiana Jones and Master Yarl with them. We had a blast. We went through the whole campaign. And just so many of our gaming stories to this day, my brothers and I, we will reference that campaign because it really, every part of it worked. And it's just such a great campaign. The authors did just such an amazing job on that. And it was so unlike anything at the time. Now, this was, 30 years ago. Now, there's a lot of games like that now because the style has been copied, and what it is basically you have this mission and there's these 5 different cities to go to, and you can go to them in any order, but it's, Cairo and Kenya and Hong Kong. And so that style has been copied a lot now, but at the time it was very unique because most Dungeons and Dragons adventures where you go here and then you go to here, then you go to here, then you go to here, then you go to here. It was very linear, and Masks is not very linear, but it just has some amazing scenarios. Like I said, it's just some of the best memories of gaming I've ever had. And the thing was, years later, I would run into the 2 guys that didn't really play RPGs very much, especially the guy that never played before, and he would still talk about it. He said, "Do you still play that game that we played, that Call of Cthulhu game where I was Indiana Jones, basically?" I said, "Yes, I still play Call of Cthulhu every once in a while." He remembered that like decades later. He would still talk about that because he had his character was a great character. He never died the whole campaign, too. He was lucky as all F.
Well, you guys were ahead of the curve then. You were kind of doing almost Pulp Cthulhu before there was a Pulp Cthulhu. And that's really, really, really cool.
It was very pulpy, yes.
I've had a very similar experience with my group in that one of the players has a wife, and she's not a gamer, like at all. No interest. But we played at his house once, and she was listening to the game. And Call of Cthulhu can be very narrative, story-driven, very evocative, conjures the imagination. And she was meant to be sitting there just watching a game of some description, like a baseball game. And she ended up like muting the TV, and she's just like listening in on us playing, to the point where at one point, like someone was like, "Who was that guy? Who was that guy?" And she was like, "Edward Gavigan." And she like just knew it. She'd been listening this whole time. She ended up playing in the game. Like, nice. And she's never played. She went off. She bought herself a little set of dice and everything. She didn't even know how to use them. She wanted to play. And in fact, this last weekend we played. We just entered Egypt, and she was sat at the table with her character, ready to go.
Oh, that's so
And
awesome.
It's like, that's what it does. I mean, it's the magic of Masks, I think, but it's the magic of Call of Cthulhu too. It's accessible. I think people can get into it, And
people, people forget basic role playing is one of the easiest systems out there. It's all percentile based, and people understand. It's hard for them to understand. Okay, this guy's armor class -2, and you need 18 to hit him. Well, what does that really mean? Whereas if you say, okay, you have a gun, you have a 32% chance to hit this guy roll. That's okay, no problem. They understand.
Just roll less than this number.
Yeah, so, your percentage chance is this, and obviously, I have a knife here, but my knife only has 15% chance. Oh, I'm going to use my gun because my gun's going to, So it's easy to figure out things, and that's one of the great things about Call of Cthulhu, and probably why it's been such a popular third-party game for the past 40-something years, is because it is really easy to jump in and just jump into a game, and you're just, and the setting is also the fact it's set in the 20s. It's just such an evocative period in our nation's history, and just the world history. I mean, so many things were going on in the world, and I've read a lot of like I said, I got a lot of books about the 20s. I have a stack of research material about this high. One is it's the book about it's called The 20s, and it just talks about everything that happened in the 20s, all the current events. Another one, it goes through each year and tells you what the most popular movie was, what the books were. And every year of the 20s, it just has pages and pages of stories. And so I would read all that. So I just got really interested in the 20s, which is a very interesting period in our nation's history. And so all that just adds together, and it just makes this really. And then the whole part about where you can go insane is just great.
Yeah.
Look, it's one of the games where you're actually having a great time when you go insane. you're like, okay, your character is completely mad, so you basically at this point you can do whatever you want. And one of the other best games we had Call of Cthulhu was we played the Shadows of Yog-Sothoth's campaign. At the very end, they're on Rely. Rely comes out of the ocean, and they got to make it back to the boat because Cthulhu is actually chasing them through the city. And they had one character, and I always remember his name was Buck McGurk. And I remember it because he had two brothers that died, and the guy just kept making McGurk. So it was like, but I can't remember Bill McGurk and George McGurk. So finally, Buck McGurk was the last one. So he went absolutely insane. At the time, all he had was a butcher knife on him. He dropped his gun or whatever, and he said, "Can I go attack Cthulhu?" I said, "Well, you're totally insane at this point, so go for it." So he had the honor of attacking Cthulhu and hitting him with a butcher knife. As the rest of the characters all ran and jumped on the boat. And so yes. And so I added the dramatic license of, and the last thing you see as you sail off the island is Cthulhu's foot rise and crush Buck McGurk. And the guy loved it. He thought it was great. I mean, what a way to go. You got crushed to death by Cthulhu as you attacked him with a butcher knife, So there's just so many great stories out of Call of Cthulhu games. It's a great system. It really is.
Like Dandelion said, it broke ground. Eric, have you played much Cthulhu?
I ran some back in, I guess, the late 80s, early 90s. None of my friends would run it, and we would maybe get 2 sessions in before they'd be demanding a return to D&D. I mean, I ran a whole summer of RuneQuest 2 with Pav.
RuneQuest is a good game, man.
Yeah. I ran a sandbox without realizing I was running a sandbox. We didn't call it that back then, but they liked the system that became basic role playing. But Cthulhu, my players were generally more of the I want to kill shit and take their stuff, not the wait a second. You mean it's smarter not to kill something and to run away? We don't run away. If you don't run away in Call of Cthulhu, you die. I mean, basically, if it comes down to, you must run away. And my players were not wired that way. Well, is what it is. Rape still wants to play Call of Cthulhu at conventions.
I'll have to run something for both of you, for sure.
Oh.
It's actually one thing I want to do at a future convention is run like maybe 2 games or 3 games a day for the entire convention. Right. And it's actually a campaign. It's the same campaign that I'm running for the whole duration, and see if we can get. Now, I'm not saying you and Rach will be on board for that, but I definitely will run something for you both.
Definitely,
without a doubt. And I think at some point I want to do like a mega game of some description.
Yeah, she's got 2 game systems that she has on her quote bucket list: Call of Cthulhu and Paranoia. Both of them interest her.
Paranoia, there's a game.
Yes, and that my players enjoyed because they got to kill each other. So
Paranoia is a great little game.
Yeah, I actually ran first edition. I got the box set. I didn't get dice with it, and you know how bad it was to get dice in like the mid '80s. If your 2d10 were missing, even though that was like sinful. So I wrote West End Games explaining that I didn't get my dice. And lo and behold, Ken Rolston sent me a letter back on block matrix that was interrupted by the computer mid-letter telling me that I was not missing my dice, because if I was missing my dice, it's because treason happened. And if I was a witness to treason, I'd have to turn myself in. So I got a great letter, and I still have the letter. I think
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe one year I'll donate that letter to the con. Mike can take my West End Games Ken Rolston fuck you and your dice letter and auction it off on the midnight auction.
I still have the original Paranoia in box. I would probably try and bid to get that letter. I'm telling you.
Oh, I actually play tested. Was it the Hill Sector Blues? I play tested that in Manhattan when they were actually in Manhattan. I have the original playtest copies of material for that. Again, things I always go, I should give to Mike, and I never remember to dig it out. But since Mike is digging stuff out right now, I think I'll toss
well, first of all, one thing is Greg Costigan. The funny story about that, John, is he was actually a guest 1 year at North Texas, and he's the only guest that Doug and I never met. Because he was doing work in Dallas at the time. I saw his Facebook page where he was doing work in Dallas. I asked him if he'd like to attend the con because a lot of people he knew were going to be there. Now, if you know anything about Greg Costigan, he is, I don't know what you'd say, he's not really a Luddite, but let's just say he worked in Dallas and drove a bike back and forth from his hotel to his office, which is insane in Dallas. That means we are not set up to drive your bike on the side of the highway. I mean, but this guy is very much.
The heat alone, Jesus Christ.
He's into environmental stuff. He doesn't own a car, a lot of stuff. So we even said we will rent an Uber for you to come over. We'd just like to see you. So he kind of said, yeah, but we never heard back from him. Well, on that Saturday of the con, he came over and he was there and people got him to sign their stuff and he was talking to people. And by the time Doug and I got back from whatever we were doing, he was gone. So he's a very idiosyncratic, oddball kind of person. So yes, he does jobs in different cities. And I don't know what he's up to now, but I know he still works and he does jobs in different cities. And he'll be gone from his house for like a year or 2 years and do job like he was doing this job in Dallas that lasted a year. And he was in Dallas, Texas for a year. But yes, he's kind of an odd individual. But that was funny because we got back from our break or whatever. It's like, hey, Greg Costigan was just here. We're like, what? Like, and I had this whole stack of stuff to get signed by him. So we never met. A special guest we never met. Anyway, I was dragging this in here, and I have a story to tell. So we were both at Gamehole Con 2019, Alyssa. You were probably drunk. I wasn't because I was helping run the auction. So I was actually relatively sober, probably.
I must have been a little bit drunk because I was bidding on the auction.
So I was auctioning stuff, and oddly enough, this was actually from Mike Carey's collection, a friend of mine that passed away, and he had some stuff that needed to be sold and the proceeds go to his family. And so I brought some stuff there, and Alyssa bought some of it, and she bought this game. It was a game called Hate that has these really amazing miniatures, and we're going to pull this out and look at it.
By the way, I don't even want to own Hate. Someone said miniatures, and I'm going all in, and I want it.
And there's a big giant box down here. But
this is from 2 years ago. I won this
2 years ago, 2019, November of 2019.
I was like, Bad Mike, can you ship this to me?
And I was like,
never seen it since.
Sure, I'll ship you these. Oh, look, these are.
That's okay. Nice I have.
These are nice.
We have knives from Gen Con 2018 that were supposed to get sent out that never did.
You should have told me, Eric. I wouldn't have asked Bad Mike to ship my Hate to me.
But you know,
all this stuff in here.
And I will say this: Bad Mike still has the taser that I may have inadvertently flown with.
I have it. So anyway, so I was like, oh sure, I'll ship it to you. So we got home, unloaded everything. I forgot all about it. So like a year later, it's COVID time, and Alyssa's like, do you still have that box and stuff I bought? I'm like, oh yeah, it's in the warehouse. I never shipped it. And so she won some other stuff from me. So I was like, I'll just store it all in the box and we'll just ship it all together because it's a big box. And so as time goes on, she's won some stuff in auction. She's bought some stuff and it's gone on and on and on. And so it's finally time to ship this list. So we're going to look and see.
Look at it. This is a big box, man. Jesus.
It's gigantic. So here's some of the things you probably even forgot you won. Here's the Black Dragon, the WotC Black Dragon plastic mini, giant mini. Did you
completely forgot about that? No.
Yeah, no, of course you didn't.
It's like Christmas in August.
This is a classic.
These are yours, but are they?
This is a classic, limited edition Dragons of the Shire, and that was one of the old Ral Partha. I'm sorry, Reaper miniatures. One of the first Reaper miniature little box sets they have. It's a diorama with a dragon and a bunch of stuff on.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
Of course you do.
Shrink is not a condition, right?
Nope. And here's some stuff. Now this is actually some original Dungeons and Dragons minifigs. I auctioned off some because I'm never going to pay. I just had them in a box, never used them. These are from the 70s. Somebody else won the auction and they asked me to ship these to you, which is really nice. I don't even remember who it was now. And so these are some original D&D minifigs. from 40 years ago. What
And
else?
Mike's had him waiting for you for the last 4 years.
Confrontation minis, Sofet Drajas. I don't know what this is. Still in the box. It's Shrink.
There's a theme.
It's a
here.
guy on a throne.
It's a theme. I
some
keep
kind of-
buying miniatures and then forgetting about the fact.
It's a demon on a throne. So you have that coming to you. There's just some. Oh, here's just some loose things. I don't know.
It's got to the point where I'm kind of dreading these arriving at the house because I'm going to be like, where am I going to put this
I don't
stuff?
know really right. These are just like ladders and just different like battlement stuff. I don't know. I mean, I just would throw everything in this box and like, I'll ship it all together eventually. So that's everything I believe you won. And I'm going to throw in some extras because I don't think you have enough stuff. You need some more stuff. And so I'm throwing in, this is from year 1 of North Texas. We had a miniature. It was Lord of the Great Plains. It's a big giant minotaur, and he has a Texas belt buckle. It was made specifically for our con.
Wow, man.
The sculptor was Jason Weeb. And I think
I know Weeb.
Oh, I'm sure you do. We had 50 copies. We still have some left over after 13 or 14 years. You're going to get one of these. And the only other miniature the convention ever produced, which was a creature called The Thing That Should Not Be, designed by, I believe, Michael Curtis. So I'm throwing that in there too. Do what you want with it. This is just something I've had. It doesn't really fit into anything else I do. I just want you to have it. It's from the Kingdom Death series. It's a little miniature. Comes in this little tiny box. For those who don't know, Kingdom Death is a really cool board game where you have, I don't know.
Lots of minis. I own it. Yeah. I don't know why.
There's a mini. I've always wanted to play it, but apparently it's a beast to play. There's a miniature in here, and it's this character right here. And I don't know much about it. I know it's worth something. I've looked it up over the years online. I know it's worth it, but it's just something I don't really sell because it's not really an RPG item. It's kind of not a gaming item. It just falls in between. So you're going to get that. That's for you.
Thank you, Bad Mate. It's really appreciated.
That to you. So now, oh dear God. Well, so here the reason this box is so big. There's a reason this box is so big. Oh dear. Hold on.
He's got to take off the headset. Just if anybody wants to listen to this on the podcast side, Mike.
Yeah, look at this thing.
He's got to buy.
This is what you bought. Now, those are all the add-ons. Here's the game hate. It weighs a ton. Here's what's in it. Look at
I bid on this thing and I won it.
You bid
and the minute I won it, I was like, "Why the fuck did I bid on this?"
Drinking. I know you were drunk. You were drunk.
So the sheer volume of boxes, I was like, I can't take this home. This is ridiculous.
I can't even. It's so heavy. And then also, I'm throwing in a backpack from this year, designed by Raven Metcalf. Did the design this year, and there's a bag and everything there. So I'll throw that in there too. Dear God, oh my God,
there's so much stuff in there.
So here's what we're gonna do. So it's gonna get out. You and Eric, you vamp, talk, whatever. While you're doing this, I'm going to get this box packed on camera. So you are going to know it's packed. I'm going to tape it up. You're going to send me your address, ready to go. Tomorrow morning, it's going to the post office. And you are going to finally get this packed.
And the post office is going to go, fuck no, this is too big.
Tell me to F off. Oh, they're used to me bringing in giant packages. One year, I got like 13 giant boxes from Bill Webb of stock that was supposed to go up. And the lady behind the counter flat out told me, I'm not touching those boxes. They're too heavy. So they let me in the back. I mean, it's probably against the law. Let me in the back of the post office to have to lug all that crap out and throw it in my pickup truck, cursing Bill Webb the entire time because it was so heavy. So, yeah, they know that I get and mail and get heavy stuff. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this off while I do it because I'm.
All right. Well, thank you. No, and yes, it is total lack of willpower, by the way. Total lack of willpower on my behalf. I like to think of myself as I am a very passionate gamer and a GM. Love painting miniatures quite a bit. Love drawing cartography. And I am disturbed when it comes to miniature collecting. I have so many miniatures. I really do. And I can't stop buying them.
You know, it's funny because when I retired just five and a half years ago, I was like, all right, this is great. Time to start painting those Reaper miniatures, because I backed Reaper 1 Bones, Reaper Bones 2, Bones 3. I was all excited. Bought the paints, got the brushes, and then I was like, yeah, I don't have the eyesight to do this shit anymore. I'm going to have to, wear granny glasses if I have any chance to do this. And no, I just wound up giving a lot of my bones to my unpainted bones to my niece so she can build her dungeons with the dwarvenite that I gave her, because I don't use my dwarven forge stuff either. So it's like, hey, you're 10. Have fun.
I will say that Reaper 1, their plastic was shit. I ended up just giving away most of my Reaper 1 completely. For painting with bad eyes, I mean, shit, I've got bad eyes. But there's a jeweler's magnifying glasses you can get. Of course, you've got the jeweler's magnifying glass on an arm. I use that all of the time. And there is... there's a very cheap, affordable set of magnifying glasses you can get that just sit on the ridge of your nose.
Really?
And they have just little lenses in front, which you can actually slot in the lens you want. And I use them every time I paint now. And they go up to like 8 times zoom or something right there instead of regular glasses. And they're freaking brilliant. And they were just like $20 off Amazon or something. And I use them all the time.
It's tempting, but not quite that tempting, because I also know the time sink involved in it.
It has to be a Zen-like thing to you. You know, you have to enjoy it. And by the way, Sinew Grab, if that's how you pronounce the name, yeah, I have passed 10,000 miniatures, but also because I'm a wargamer.
That's right.
Wargaming, I have a lot of miniatures. I have every army from the Napoleonic Wars.
We didn't even mention Infilad. Infilad is. Are you still involved with Infilad?
No, I'm not. We had some disagreements with how they were handling and responding to COVID, so I resigned.
That was a war game convention. I know that Zach and Bill were there one year. That sounded like it was really fun. So that's too bad. I was going to say, when you were talking about Reaper earlier, they have an incredible racket set up, don't they? Because out of everybody that buys their miniatures every time, probably 10% of the people actually paint that stuff. 90% of the people just get all those boxes of miniatures in there, look at it all. It's an aspirational purchase because they're never going to do anything with it. And it just sits there, and then they get Reaper 2, then they get Reaper 3, and they just pile up, and they're never going to paint this stuff. But so Reaper has the greatest scam in the history of the world going. Is you have to get these miniatures.
Bones 5 to come in.
Oh, dear. That's right, yeah.
And I'm scared. I am literally scared. I went in so hard on that thing, and I've seen the photos that people have posted on these massive collections that have arrived, and I'm like, holy balls, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And yet I still went all in. I still did it.
As Joe the lawyer says, I just spent $103 on miniatures 2 hours ago. I've never painted one in my life. They look better unpainted than if I tried. Back in the day, I was not good, but I was good enough that I could understand how to do a wash, how to do a little dry brushing for highlights. I did my dwarves and my skeletons, because skeletons were easy because they were the old Citadel plastic minis. So the plastic skeletons were hard to fuck up because a little dry brushing, a little wash, they came out looking great. The dwarves took a lot more effort, and I had like 1 or 2 that I thought came out okay. But since then, I haven't done shit. My aspirations were a lot greater than my actual ability, or not just to do, but to even sit myself down and attempt. And I bought the hobby knives to cut the flash, especially off those plastic fucking bones that have fucking nubs everywhere. It's just like, so I had great ideas, great plans. Never happened.
Painting has to be a passion. It really does. I'm probably beyond passion at this point with collecting miniatures. I really do have a problem. I really do just keep buying more and more and more. I bought miniatures every single month this year and made it a little bit of a running meme on Facebook. I can't stop. I can't stop. I'm going to die, and they're just going to get given away to someone, or Jack is going to roll around naked in them, or something like that. I mean, I've got problems. And Joe the lawyer, thank you so much on the Gaxmore map. I really appreciate it. I'd like to think that, without sounding big-headed, I don't want to come across it like that. I'd like to think that all of the maps that I've done over the last few years have been really cock on. They've been really good maps, and Gaxmore is definitely one of them. Of course, I did the Acropolis for God recently, and I think it's a good-looking map. And I'm working on 2 Chaosium maps right now, but I can't tell you about them because one's a word, and there's a contract involved. But I'm working on 2 Chaosium maps, and I think one of the best maps I'm ever going to do is actually going to be at GaryCon next year if I can actually nail the deadline. So yeah, doing good stuff right now. Really happy with them.
Damn. All right, that's pretty spot on. See, now I gotta tell the truth. I had a great time running Teagle Manor with your maps laid out at North Texas, using the pointer. My players were they tried to use minis, and I was like, I'm just gonna step on them. So please don't.
Yeah, don't. But, not 12 feet by 12 feet. Don't put minis.
No. We use the pointers. But here's the thing, and I was running this for Swords of Which We Light. So I was running Teagle Manor for first level characters. So we were talking before about improv and pretty much running that way. I read Teagle numerous times. I knew it well enough to get the feel of Teagle, but with your map, I just put my players out and let them look at the map, and they were reading things into Teagle that I didn't remember from any of my readings of it. But since they read it into it, I was like, all right, spot on. Well, if they're reading that into it, we're going to go with it, because that map looks amazing on what is it, like 4 shower curtains laid out?
Yeah, 4 shower curtains laid out, yeah.
Oh, my God. So that was a great fun and great experience. But I realized as I was running it, it's like I don't even need to refer to the adventure, because my players are working off what's on the map, and I'm just winging off them, throwing things in that were Teagle-like, that might not kill a first-level party with, one word, but it played out really well. But again, those maps did it. It's what made that a viable method of running it, because the details were there, and to see the players take the pointers out and go, but what's this? I go, fuck, I got no fucking clue what the hell that is. And
I'll tell you what, Eric, that's how I want all my maps to be, though. Even Gaxmore, there's parts of Gaxmore or Necropolis or any of my maps that I've done in recent years. I want players to have that, what's this? And the GM to go, okay, let's roll with that, because it's not in the book. And that's one thing I like to do in my maps. I'm going to put shit in my maps that are not in the book. And I want the players to point. I want the GM to get fodder off it, and that's right. One thing I like about my approach to cartography is that, because you're sitting there going, fuck, I don't need the book. I'm just going to roll with this.
I knew the theme and the feel for Teagle. I knew that pretty well. I was like, I know what I got to go for. But when your players start pointing out in the map and they're like, are these books in the corner of this big room? Is this the library? Yeah, that's the library. Well, if the library, then we have to have an undead librarian, because that just is Teagle. So, I was just making up my version of Teagle for these guys. And I had one player who's like, I played in Teagle like years ago. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. It just felt just like it, but I didn't remember anything. I go, awesome, which means I got the feel and I didn't hit any of the notes. That was the original.
Nice.
So
this is good, man. I like that story. That's awesome.
Well, again, but that is what you get with that level of detail. You get, again, I was working off my players, and I, as a GM or a DM, I have my best times, my most fulfilling times, when my players push me out of that comfort zone of what's written, and they go off script, and you're like, oh, okay. now now I have to literally be as good as them because they're good enough to break that wall and move the adventure beyond what was written.
It's more real, man. No, it's more real. I mean, if you're doing this type of thing where you as a GM, and by the way, I've had a GM do it where it's like allowing survivors, investigators to make their way back to. If you're doing that, there's no excitement at the table. No. There's no passion. There's no energy. No, it's going to be up here. Stop reading from the fucking book. Be up here, looking at your players. And if you have to just go into imagination zone, albeit, but it's got to be energetic. It's got to be fucking engaged. I feel the energy at the table is really down to the GM for a large extent. So the fact that you can do that, that's what it's all about.
Well, and listen, I still remember the first review I wrote for RPG Now as a featured reviewer, which they were none too happy with my review because I was generous and I gave the product 2 stars, and I couldn't tell you what it was called, but it was with some adventure where if you went off the parameters of what was designed as a railroad, these balls of electrical power would basically, hound you back to the adventure zone, and if you didn't, you were getting zapped, and you eventually get like zapped to death. And I was like, this is not an adventure. This is there is no freedom. This is literally you must do A, B, C, or you're dead. And I was they weren't too happy with when I say they. The publisher was very upset with my review, and Mike's drinking again. He's.
I just noticed that.
Yes. See, Mike worked so hard he had to break out the new bottle of booze, and that is spot on. Look at the big box. So Mike's doing his workout right now, and he's burned off 1.7 calories, and probably needs another shot of booze. It would be fucking hilarious if Mike was actually listening to us, but I know he's pantomiming all this stuff. Oh, he's like, I can hear you. Now he can barely. We miss you, Mike. We miss you.
Anyway, I love Bad Mike. He's a great guy.
Yep. Now you're muted.
Oh, now he's muted.
I can hear you. I just couldn't. I pulled out the headphones.
Okay.
So I can hear you while I was on the ground, but it's all back to Alyssa.
That was funny, man. I love watching you in the background.
I was
watching every movement.
That was a big package. I don't know why I put it off so long. It took me like 5 minutes. I mean, so
I get it. I do. I sometimes have a miniature to ship to someone.
I don't know.
I procrastinate, and and the longer you leave it, the worse it gets.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right. So put 2, Alyssa the bitch Faden.
Oh. I'm just joking. No, what is it? That truth in addressing?
Put down to Jack Call for a present for you, Jack. No, I got it.
No, believe me, when I joke, like, hey, you be careful, I could die here. He's like, great, minis.
Oh, I love me some Jack. Oh, God. All right. Oh,
he has one shelf in our miniature collection.
You give him one? Oh, I probably should give him that many. Poor Jack. Oh, my. All right. It's addressed. It's ready to go.
You're an angel. Thank you so much. And doing this online, too. I'm
paying shipping because this took way too damn long to get out. So you do not owe me anything for shipping.
I'll split that, man, with you. It's going to be a lot of shipping right there.
It probably will, but I don't care.
Buy him a bottle at the next text.
Buy me a drink. Next time, are you going to Game Hole or not? You're not going to Game Hole? I'll see you Game Hole.
I'll hand you a bottle.
There you go. That will be wonderful. And I will put this on.
Yeah, you have to do bottles at Game Hole. That's my biggest knock at Game Hole, by the way, is they don't have a bar.
They don't,
No.
yeah, because they just have the service center, and then now the hotel, some of the hotels have bars or sort of bars,
But not the hotel connected to the convention center,
no,
doesn't?
now what they'll do at night, they've done this a few times, is they'll set up a bar, which is basically the cheapest booze possible.
Oh yeah, no, shit.
And you get a free
It's not
whatever.
the same. One of the things I love about Gary Con, one of the things I love about North Texas Con and Total Con is they have great bar areas where you can go sit with friends and talk and relax. Like, and I always actually put like a little session of that in between games. Sit down, order a drink, just hang out, listen to Bad Mike with his tape.
Or listen to Stephen Porcorny with his boombox.
With his boombox. But like Gamehole doesn't have that ambience.
No, that's
because of that.
I love
you can't recline and chill because of that.
I love it so much. And, Alex puts on, and I've said this a million times, I'll always say it, he has the best run con of any of the cons we've mentioned, ours included. It runs like clockwork. Everything he's done this year, I know one of the things that we didn't talk about, we'll probably talk about next week, Eric, is that this week they're going to require vaccination, proof of vaccination to come in. And normally I might get a little agitated by that, but they did it in such a professional way, in such a good way, the way they went over it. He's accepted. You can have a photocopy. You can have a picture on your phone. They're not being draconian about it. We just want you to know you have a vaccination. That's all it boils down to. We're not going to be nitpicky and, I can't really see this on the phone. I can't. No, just show them what you have and just prove your. Everything they do is just run so well and just done so good that I'm just, and that's the one thing though. You're right. The one thing they don't have is a place just to hang out and have a drink and then talk to everybody, which really stinks. And a lot of it's because of so if you're at Gary Con, you're in the one big hotel, right? You're in the big place.
Right.
Same with Texas and same with Total Con. But the problem with Gamehole Con is there's about 5 or 6 hotels that all service the center. So you have some people in the Holiday Inn, some people are in the Marriott, some people over here. And so you don't really get everybody together after all the con stuff's done. You get them kind of separating in their own little hotels.
Right, but the thing is, that's the hotel that's attached to the convention center, which, listen, the people there are some of the nicest workers that I've dealt with at any hotel. There's happy hour from 5 to 7, I think it is, where you can get your beer and wine. And then afterwards, I think you can buy beer for like $3 a bottle. It's not expensive. Yeah. But if you want hard liquor, you're at the mercy of locals that have brought bottles with them.
Yeah, we've been lucky. I remember the first year I went, the first year I went with Frog God, I was with Bill. We're hanging out, and the great thing about Bill is everybody brings him booze.
Yes.
So we're just sitting there talking, and people walk up just putting the bottle of booze down. Like, okay, thanks. And so we didn't have to do anything all weekend. We just had people drop down a bottle of rum, or I just wanted to give you a bottle of booze. So that worked out great. But yeah, there'll be somebody there that has drinks, but it's not the same because it's just all over the place. You don't know. I usually go down with my own bottle. But it's just very chaotic down there in the lobby. I know at least the attached hotel. What's that? That's the Marriott, right? I think it's the Marriott. The Marriott. I know Alex has talked to him for years. It's just not a very nice hotel. One of the problems is they haven't upgraded the suites. I bet we go there this year, Eric. I bet the suites look exactly the same. Ugly is all sin.
Oh, I'm sure. And Rich and I, we have the. The mini apartments, the upgraded suites, which was all that was available. So the block sold out real quick. But listen, again, is it the highest end? Is it a high end hotel? No. Is the staff very nice and pleasant? Do they remember you? They actually do remember us.
Yeah, the staff are cool. The staff are really cool.
Yeah, they are. Very good.
And Marcelo, welcome.
Yes. Mike Clover wants to know if we're taking bets to see how long it takes you to get it to the post office.
Oh, okay. You want to play that game? Let's play that game. I'll have.
Well,
I'm
I
gonna bring
think
it
we could
tomorrow.
be
I'm bringing it
taking
tomorrow.
bets right now whether you can actually get that
Oh.
tape under control.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. That's always that's when you know you might have had a few too many, or I might have put too much whiskey in my drink tonight because the tape is beating my ass. Just the tape is beating my ass. Stop
You know
it,
when you
tape.
hear these sweet
Stop it, tape.
deaths, we're going to get you wrapped in tape on
Oh, my
camera,
God.
falling out of shot.
That would be the
tape is
worst thing.
kicking your ass.
That wouldn't be the worst thing I've done for money. So yeah, go ahead.
I'm afraid to. I'm not going to ask. I really don't want to know.
I dress up like the devil every year and go in front of a bunch of people and sell them crappy stuff. Come on. If I can do that, I can do anything. And then I insult the people when I'm there. I'm insulting them. It's wonderful.
Dude, I dressed as a lobster this year. Come on.
That was great. Oh, Alyssa, you missed that. Although there was pictures online, so that was great.
Oh no, Rach has the video. I will post it on the YouTube stream.
The best part. So the joke was this, Alyssa. So Zach's old lobster costume that he wore to Game Hole one year, Eric was going to walk out with the costume. So of course we decided to work my brother and his Speedo into this. And so when I walk out, I go, okay, so next for auction we're going to have a costume. And so my brother walks out of Speedo. Everybody screams. He's got like 3 bananas shoved in there. I mean, it's ridiculous. And everybody screams. We're like, no, wrong costume, wrong costume. And then Eric walks out with the lobster. So back to back, we're treated to my brother in a Speedo and Eric in a lobster costume.
Yes,
and I know that lobster costume too. I have a
Oh.
photo of that. So did that lobster costume sell?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, somebody bought it. I don't know why. We don't know why. We don't know anything. Stuff sells. We don't
bought
ask
it?
questions. We just sell them.
The guest of honor bought it.
Kurt Gould, yeah, Kurt
Yes.
Gould, yes.
Yes.
Who we made fun of this year, and he was a great sport, obviously.
Okay. I know Kurt. Cool.
Yeah, we have every year we have a victim that we so what we say is they left behind something the year before, and we pull out a bunch of stuff that embarrasses that person. And we've done Eric before. I did a long time ago. I did Zach. We've done Ben
Skeeter.
Marsh. We've done so all these guys. So this year we decided to pick on Kurt Gould, and it was funny. It was hilarious. We had a bunch of, because he works for Watsy, so we pulled out a bunch of Watsy stuff, and then we had his book of ideas, and it was ideas about how to make Watsy great. And of course, every idea was something that happened the last year that was absolutely a horrible business decision. Like, I don't know why we have this Weiss and Hickman on contract. We need to cancel their book contract and move on from this.
That's so good.
Oh, it was great. He loved it. And so halfway through reading this book, he finally goes, I will give you $500 to stop reading out of that book.
Nice.
Because I don't want to hear it. I can't hear it anymore. Just give $500 to stop reading it. So I goes, no, I took the time to write it. I'm going to read it.
I'm going to read it. Your money is no good here.
God, it was so funny. It was great. We missed you there. Hopefully we'll see you next year.
Oh, you'll see us next year. You will absolutely see us next year.
I'm crying. I was laughing so hard.
You know what they say, right?
Oh, no.
Oh, there he is.
I will never watch that guy.
The man himself.
Oh, the man, the dream. There he is, Mr. Kirk. You better watch that costume because it was worn by Eric and Zach. That who knows what kind of bed bugs and
God knows how much Zach was sweating at Game Hall. I know how much I was sweating at North Texas.
Oh God, yeah. And Zach was wearing it. He wore it all day. So God knows.
Yeah, I didn't even put on like the legs. I was like, I can't put on the legs. if I put on the legs, you're gonna have to just. Get me out of it. You know
how they have 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever? If you put on that would be where Zach's legs were.
Oh,
God knows where Zach's legs have been in his life. So you would have been that close to something that Zach's legs have been.
Yeah, and listen, I love Zach like a brother. But again, it's like a brother. And I don't want to know Zach in anything that might resemble a biblical sense. Because,
yeah.
But now I've got to see Kurt Gould in this costume. I need to. Kurt. I have a photo of Zach. I don't have a photo of Eric. But I gotta get Kurt. I gotta get Kurt in this costume.
All right. Well, there are photos.
Been thrown, Kurt. The
there are photos of me, but Rach has a video of not just me, but the scene before me with the 3 bananas.
Oh.
I don't need to see that. I'm good without that one.
I might have to figure out how to edit videos to. I don't know. I mean, your brother has no shame. I don't think YouTube would delete it.
As a wise man once said, you can poke your eyes out, but you can't poke your mind's eye out. So no matter what we do, Eric and I, that image will live for this forever. So it's like Call of Cthulhu. We solved the creature, and we'll never quite get past that. Our sanity went down like 3 points, and it's just going to stay.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what folks listening at home don't realize. Not only did I get to see your brother when he came out, because Rach filmed it. She's like, the moment he comes out, I'm filming this shit. All right? I got to see him when he was changing into his outfit.
Oh.
So I got to see...
man.
I got to see the this is what I'm putting on, where it was just like, oh my God.
Did he show you what he shoved in there too? So you got to see the oranges and apples and the bananas.
I was too busy trying to get my own costume on to dwell on what he was doing with his private areas. See, that's what Kurt should have been on. He should have gotten the Speedo that came off. Well, that should have been like, you have to take it.
You missed. So you weren't there. Well, you weren't there in 2019. That was the year we only had about 80 people because it was just 2020. Right. It was COVID year. We only had locals. So Robert came out in a Speedo, and we took bids online to make him leave because he had the Speedo on. And so Kurt was the high bidder. I can't remember how much Kurt gave, but I said, if somebody bids this amount of money, like $200, Robert has to leave right now. And I swear, 5 seconds, Kurt had bid $500. Yes. Like, okay, you have to go. He didn't win. He didn't win anything. All he won was the respect and love of everybody there. Nice. Who no longer had to see my brother.
We're tapping out. We're tapping out.
Much to my wife's fear, it will happen. Oh dear, no, that's not an anniversary present, Kurt, at all. Not at all. Please don't do that. That will not be a happy occasion. Honey, look, God. I have the lobster outfit on tonight. Oh no,
let's get romantic.
It was last worn by Eric Tenkar.
Hun, time for seafood.
Oh,
why don't you crack this lobster's tail and let's get it on?
I may have drank too much, but that was pretty funny, Eric. That was better. That was better than usual. So,
what can I tell you, man? Every once in a while, I hit him, but usually, man, a foul ball. It's like, just to the foul pole. No good. Sorry, man, you failed.
Kevin says, "Are you still allowed to tell jokes and pull hijinks at cons? Don't you go to Twitter jail for that?" We don't allow Twitter at our con. Okay, Twitter is not allowed. So no, we still have fun at the con. We still have a lot of fun. You know, you'd be surprised. You go to most cons, and it's still. I mean, I hate to say stuff like politically correct and the buzzwords, but you know, when you go to a con, everybody generally behaves themselves. I mean, it's just everybody is very respectful. It's not like it was in the 70s or 80s or even 90s when people would just get drunk and just get ridiculous. It's pretty. I think people are pretty well behaved. Would you say so, Eric and Alyssa? I mean, it's except for when Alyssa drinks too much, it falls over the electrical cord.
But I did it in a very well-behaved manner. I did it.
Almost killed yourself, by the way.
I didn't hit anyone on the way down.
No, you almost killed yourself, though. You came very close to basically decapitating yourself.
No, but and I'm sure Eric has an opinion on this, but my opinion is, honestly, I think at the end of the day, I'm going to call it the political spectrum, in our diversity of opinions, I think social media nowadays really polarizes it for all of us. But at the end of the day, we're gamers, miniature enthusiasts, role players, dice enthusiasts, painting enthusiasts, and we have more in common than we think. So when we actually go to a convention, all of that political diversity that big money is honestly funding, because it is happening from above. We are being diversified.
Amen.
It melts away. It's not fucking important. It really isn't. We are more alike than not. Of course, there are extremists on any side of the fucking fence. And and they'll always be there, the Looney Tunes of the fucking universe. But at the end of the day, when you are in amongst hundreds, if not thousands of people who want to roll dice, they want to move miniatures, they want to collect books, they get nerd out because someone just bought a fucking brown box. These are our brothers and sisters. And at a convention, all of that outside shit melts away. Even at the gaming table with our friends, that outside shit melts away. The bills we're going to pay, the fucking stresses we got in life. The whole point is, this is our safe zone.
Yes.
This role-playing universe is our safe zone. And if you get away from that social media bullshit, if you get away from the fucking scare factor of media on any side of the fence, and that includes social media as well, honestly, when you actually get into a convention, when you get at the gaming table, none of that fucking matters. You're not thinking about that shit. It's just not a thing. Yeah, you have some arseholes. You do that turn up these things that are going to get escorted out. And they're rare. But the rest of it, I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a liberal. I just don't give a fuck. Like, what's your character? What are we playing? How are you rolling? Oh, you're rolling like shit? I'm sorry, man. That sucks. That's what it's all about. And the rest of it can fuck off. That's my opinion on it.
Hold on a second. God bless.
If you're going to a con, or if you're letting something influence your con that is not con related, in other words, I'm only going to con if I can game with X people and not YZ people, then you're not going to a con for the right reason. You look, I've been going to cons since the early 80s, and you go there to interact with like-minded people, and that's one of the reasons Doug and I have always had a very strict no politics policy at North Texas, and we've gotten in trouble, and Eric knows this from last year. We got hammered from both sides of the political spectrum over some of our stands about the con. We had right-wingers yelling at us, we had left-wingers yelling at us, and the whole point is at the end we have to remain true to what we do. And what we do is, and what we say is, you come to the con to game. You're not supposed to come to the con to pick and choose who you game with. You just game and you have a good time, because that's what we all have in common, is gaming. And I don't want to know who you voted for, Eric, and I don't want to know who you voted for, Alyssa. I don't care. It's not important when we sit at the gaming table. And you wouldn't believe the weird, crazy requests we've had from people over the years. And I talk to Alex a lot. Alex and I are buddies. And the stuff people ask him about his con, it's lunacy. That people do not have the right idea. And they're going to cons. They're basing what they're going to con for a different reason than what they should go to a con for. And like right now, I know that Alex on his page had announced that they're going to have a vaccine not a vaccine mandate, but you have to show you've been vaccinated. They had people, and we've had the same thing in North Texas, that have never been to his con and are never going to go to the trouble of getting on there and bitching at him and griping about it. And we've had the same thing happen in North Texas. We've had people that have never been to our con, probably never going to go, and they will complain to us about things going on at the con. And that's when you just have to put your foot down and say, look, maybe this con isn't for you, or you're not serious about actually going to a con and having fun. You want to go to a con for different reasons than a con's there. And I've had, ever since, Game Hole Con, Gary Con, North Texas, Reaper, all the cons I've been to, I've had a blast. And
right.
And it's because you walk in there and you leave all your politics and everything at the door, and you just game. And you game and have a great time. You see friends you haven't seen in a long time. And that's all there is to it. And you guys have been to cons, I do. Nobody sits there and talks politics at the table, or sits there and talks about, current events. They're all just talking about games and what game they played at. And then Ernie's running this game over here. And did you see this? And, that's what you're talking about. Have you seen the miniatures over at booth, whatever? The other stuff shouldn't be at the con. It shouldn't be there. And if you're bringing that to the con, you're coming to the con for the wrong reason.
Well, that's my opinion about gaming in general. I always feel that we should be stressing the bonds that we have that bring us together, and not focusing on these when it comes to gaming, things that have nothing to do with gaming, but we're going to bring this in because it's what drives social media. Because social media thrives on the clicks and the views, and therefore getting people arguing over bullshit is what social media wants, because it's how it makes its money.
It makes its money off what they call engagement. Engagement,
Yes.
it can be negative, it can be positive. They don't care. Engagement is the number one thing that social media drives, and all they want is engagement. They don't care if they infuriate you. They don't care if they make you happy. They don't care if you hate or love. They just want engagement. And unfortunately, one of the things that brings engagement is conflict, and so
Right.
they stoke conflict. Twitter, Facebook, all these, they stoke conflict. That's how they make money. And all they care about, they don't see red or blue or whatever. They just see green money. That's all
Right.
they care about. They are the least political animals you'll ever see. I always laugh when people say that such and such media companies run by liberals or they're run by conservatives. It doesn't matter. That doesn't come into play. What comes into play is how can we engage these morons? What can we do to just make them fight online? And that's why if you go on, like, especially on Twitter, they have what's called, and this is really what it's called villain of the day. Villain of the day is somebody that the Twitter people pick, that somebody that's done something horrible, has said something horrible, and they throw that name out there. But they start making results shuffle for this person to come up, and then everybody starts banging on this person and makes their life horrible. And then the next day they have another villain of the day, and that's what they do. They create a villain every day, so people will engage by screaming and yelling, "This person's horrible, horrible." I mean, how many times have you looked at Twitter and it's just the same person? It's just different people saying the same thing over and over and over again. This person's terrible. This person's terrible. This person's terrible. Just over and over again. After 700 responses, there's nothing new to be said there. It's just people just piling on, but it's engagement. And that's
Right.
what social media platforms.
I think to a degree we're still trying to figure out social media as a species. I think this is an evolutionary step for us, and it could end up good, it could end up bad. Right now I feel like it's going in the bad direction. You have people, whether they're influencers or perceived influencers, or they have a voice which they wish to express. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you are building your brand, your voice upon a particular message, then when that message is gone, when that subject matter is gone, now you need to find another victim. And that's part of the problem, right? You have to hunt for who you're going to hang. And at that stage, you're not really championing whatever cause you started off with. You're now just you're fucking finding a victim and wanting to hang him or her. One of the things I've always loved about Tenkar's Tavern is, Eric, sorry, but you happen to be here, he's actually a pretty impartial fellow. He doesn't go on witch hunts. You know what I'm saying? He just lays out the news in the gaming industry as it is. And I like that. There's a lot of other people where they're like, no, what I'm going to speak about is going to be, and I'll just pull something out of my ass, for example, people who make bad paintbrushes. That's my brand. And I get a lot of traction to begin with because we don't like bad paintbrushes, but I run out of fucking companies to pick on for that sort of type of thing. And so now I have to find one. So I just go off and I'm like, these guys are bad paintbrushes because they only do it in blue. And what the fuck is that about? And right. And this is why, like, social media is what we've become nowadays, is we want to rage. We see there's an audience for rage, so we start to fabricate rage, and it just becomes bullshit at the end of the day. We become these little animals of anger, just looking for a reason to be angry.
Because listen, I learned this both as a cop and working retail for 8 years before that. People can have a great experience with you and you doing your job, and you'll never hear about it. But if somebody has a bad experience with you doing your job, they're more likely to write that letter or make that phone call and make that complaint. Because what tends to motivate us as a species in general is anger. Happiness just, it's like, all right, I was happy. That's great. I'm angry. Why the hell am I angry? It's because of whatever. You're, like you said, I try to maintain neutrality. There are some people who've done personal attacks on me where, you know what, fuck you, you threaten to sue me. It's become personal, and I will freely admit that. But I have people on both sides of the political extremism tell me that I am the opposite of what they are, and they know my agenda. Now, if both sides think I am their exact opposite, obviously I'm doing something right, because I must be smack in the middle. Because if you're smack in the middle, then both sides think that you're not on their
Right.
side.
No, you're doing it
You know.
right. If both sides don't like you, you're doing something right. That's what I look at it, because that way you actually are impartial.
Yeah.
If not one, if one side doesn't say, "Oh yeah, he's definitely on our side." No, it's you want to be right in the middle. There's an influencer, and I can't remember her name. I was just looking for a video, but it was really good. It's almost a year old, but basically, she was deplatformed earlier this year, and she had been on YouTube like 10 years or longer, and she did a very long video. And I don't like her very much as a person, but she had a very insightful video about how easy it is to destroy somebody's life on social media and hers boiled down to she made one wrong tweet. I mean, that's what it boiled down to. She said one tweet that was kind of a mistake to say it, and because of that, everybody dug up everything terrible she'd ever said, all the way going back to when she was a teenager on Facebook, and they posted online, and she was demonetized and pretty much destroyed. And so she went into this video. It was talking about this is what happens, and this is what she talked about. Like you're saying, she talked about the fact that it's all run by people who get off on conflict or get off on making you choose a side. They don't want you to be in the middle. If you're in the middle, that doesn't do any good, Eric. When you're in the middle, that doesn't help them. They need you to be on one side or the other, and they will paint you into whatever corner they need to paint you in.
But both sides have told me that I abuse my influence by not using my influence. What the fuck does that mean?
How dare you, sir? How dare you, sir?
We know your agenda. My agenda is not to have an agenda. My agenda is to keep politics out of my gaming. Oh, Jesus.
At the end of the day, I've watched channels eat themselves, and those channels are actually saying the same thing. But it's like you're not saying it in the right way. You're not saying, but I'm now like the most influential, so I want to put down everyone else. At the end of the day, we're very social creatures, and we're also very tribal creatures. We just are. That's a matter of fact. You know, whether you're rooting for your favorite sports team or you're rooting for your city or your country, we're pretty fucking tribal right now. And we're not at Starship fucking Enterprise level of enlightenment as a species.
We never will be, please.
Well, and I tend to be in that camp, Eric. I will agree. But it's like we're definitely facing as a species a trial of sorts with social media, where everything can there be a little fire lit under everything, and everything is tribal. And my best recommendation for that is don't be. Fight it. Eschew it. Walk outside of the tribe. Just find love. Find joy in your dice, your miniatures, your paints, your hobbies, your dioramas, hopefully your good rolls, the GMing that you're doing, the game that you got coming this weekend. Because that honestly should be outside of all of that bullshit, outside of that real world crap that's going on right now. And that's one reason why I love gaming. And I always will love gaming. Because when I'm sitting down at the table, whether I'm a player or I'm a GM, the rest of the real world shit, that can fuck off. It's gone. I'm now in the 1920s and I'm in Egypt. And that's what it's about.
And honestly, the best friends I've ever had in my life have come because of gaming. And I'm talking about people that I would trust with my life. You know, like I'm about to fall off this bridge. I would trust this person to reach their hand out and grab me. And that's 9 of those 10 people are people I met through gaming. Seriously, that I would just say, this is a person who's got my back and I've got their back no matter what. And so, gaming leads to these great relationships with people that maybe you don't, I'm always finding out stuff about people. I find out stuff about Eric all the time I don't know, and then, some people
not on purpose, but
I found out that he had a lobster costume for a short while. So yes, I'm right there with you.
But
I found out something about Kurt Gold tonight. He has a lobster costume.
Yes,
that's not good.
He willingly bought it after I wore it. So God bless him.
I have more an opinion on Kurt right now because of the lobster costume than I ever will about politics.
Yeah, that might damage him in my eyes, but he did. The money went to the con, so I can't get too upset with him. He's a kinky guy, but the money went to the con, so what am I going to say? I'm happy he bid for it, so
Yeah.
But anyway, no, don't worry about Kevin. You didn't derail us because we love to talk about stuff like this. And Eric and I periodically go into rants about this all the time, about how we are just. But Alyssa, you said something really interesting, and I watched, and I can't remember the documentary, but it was a documentary about social media. And what you're saying is true. Is that this has just happened within our lifetimes, and right now, all the good that social media has done a lot of good. It's done a lot of good over the years. I mean, it's allowed us to do things we would never be able to do before. It's allowed me to know you guys. I would have never met you guys. I mean, it goes on and on like that. But it's also done a lot of evil, and so we're still trying to figure out exactly how is the best way to use social media to get the best out of it, not the worst. And unfortunately, the people who are driving the worst it's the people running it because they want engagement. So, it's up to us as people not to give them what way they want, and not to give them negative engagement. And I have tried the last few years. I made a point. I mean, I sat down and made a point myself the last couple of years. I am not going to get in internet, Twitter fights, Facebook battles, any of that stuff. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm just not going to get sucked into that world. And I see people to this day that allow that to happen, and they're really unhappy people because that's what they thrive on all the time is the negativity. And I've had to cut a lot of people out of my life on social media that all their posts are just negative. And after a while, I'm very much a believer in the power of positive energy. I was having a long time. Alice and I, Peng and I, were just having a long talk about this other night about how positive she is and how well her surgery went and everything. And a lot of it's because she's also believes in the power of positive energy and positive thinking. And I definitely believe that. And man, you find if you cut those kind of people out of your social media circles, you will be so much happier. I had a real close friend who last year, he had a parent die. He had a lot of bad things happen. COVID was going on. He lost his job. And he was just going deeper and deeper in depression. He gave up social media. He immediately felt within 1 month was just back to the same guy I knew all the time. And he acknowledged how much negative effect social media was having on his life. It's because it was during COVID. Everybody knows how bad everything was last year, and every time you turn on the computer, somebody's parent had died or grandparent or somebody they knew, and it was just negative. Of course, the election was happening. The election polarized everybody. It went on and on, and he just got out of it. He just said, "I'm out of this for like whatever." And starting in January, he got back a little bit, but he is very circumspect about his social media footprint now. He does not. I mean, if you're negative, you're out. He will knock you off his page. Doesn't matter if you're a family member, a friend, or whatever. But he says it turned around his mental health 100% by just cutting people out of social, or just cutting out social media at first, and then slowly going back in, but cutting out any negative influence of social media.
At the end of the day, I read a book. It was called The Energy Bus, which is a really stupid fucking name. But it basically
everybody get the energy bus. Sorry.
Well, it's basically like we all have one life, right? We're all living our own single life. And at the end of the day, you're going to die. We are going to die. And that journey, that bus is you. And the friends that we have are our passengers. Our friends and our family, they're passengers on our bus, our life, our journey. And if someone gets on your bus and they're bringing negative energy and they're upsetting the rest of the passengers and you, they're detracting from your single life. And I don't, personally, myself, no one has a right to do that. No one. I'm going to live one life. This is it. I might be persuaded in reincarnation, but you get the point. This is my one life right now. And if you're going to come into my life, whether it's through social media or a gaming convention or otherwise, and start spreading those negative vibes, man, you're out. You're out, because this is my bus. This is my journey, and I'm gonna ask you as a passenger to get off. And I may not tell you about it. I'm just going to block you. You're gone. And there's too many people out there that live off this negative energy, that it's their brand, is what they do. And there's too many people out there that's all they've got. They literally have no control over their life right now. And whatever is going on, feeling angry at other people makes them feel better. But you know what? They're festering sores, and you don't want them. You don't want them around. And I think the only way we're going to survive is by aggressively cutting that shit out. Like it's all about what positivity can you bring? What positivity can you find in life? If you're going to look for negativity, you're going to find buckets of it. If you're going to just spread negativity, that's all you're going to do. And at that point, you're not making mankind and this world and this timeline any fucking better at all.
You're right. I'm cutting Skeeter out of my life right now. Hold on.
Oh,
this is why I cut fucking Tullis out of my life.
Just unfollow.
Tullis follows you around on this. It's like, what's the deal
He's
with that guy? He's obsessed with you. It's just sad. It's sad and kind of sick. It's kind of disturbing.
He's a bit of a stalker. He is. But, you know, he's got some problems, but it's okay. It's okay. Got to indulge him, you know.
Well, you know, it's almost worse to have him not notice you than notice you, because God knows if he wasn't announcing what he's doing all the time, you'd be frightened. I mean, you would know what the hell is going on in that weirdo's life, you know. But luckily, he announces what he's doing all the time, so you know. But yeah, the Alyssa Tullis feud is, if you haven't seen it before, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And it's one of the things that makes social media good. That's one of the good parts about social media, is the Tullis Faden feud. So,
and Cindy Grab is right. He is my Thanos, and I am Captain Marvel.
And you know what the thing is, he would absolutely think that's true, because he looks to himself as a villain. You know, that's what kind of negative energy this guy spreads. He thinks he's a bad guy. He loves being a bad guy. So you know,
but he's actually dare I say it, a good person in his real life, but he thinks he has to. No, he is.
Guess. Yeah, okay, he is.
Yeah.
And I can't express an opinion on that.
You don't know who he is, do you? You have no clue who he is.
No, I don't know who he is. I've never met him.
That's always the best. I don't know who Tullis is.
And John is like, yeah, who the hell is Tullis?
Oh, there you go.
Exactly. Who is
Fat
Tullis?
Dragon Games.
That's how you deal with him.
If you get blinded by the bald head, it's probably Tom.
We need to have, we need to have Tullis on the show and ask his opinion of Alyssa, since we've gone with one, so we need to go with the other now. And he'd probably be very respectful. I bet he'd be very respectful.
No, he wouldn't. Not publicly, he wouldn't.
No,
not.
But we'd have to give him a step stool so he could get on the screen.
Oh gosh! Wow, that came from Eric too. Damn.
Yeah, well, I figured I'd throw that one out there while I still can before Tom starts watching this.
Yeah, he's probably not watching this. He's got evil plans to think of, and he's got evil schemes to.
When he's got Dragonlock tiles to try and make better because they're shit or something, right?
Oh dear! Oh my! That won't go on the commercial right there.
Well, remember when Dragonlock was like all paper and like print it yourself and try and fold it together like origami and make a dungeon? Fuck off!
Oh, beautiful. Oh, well. Oh, well, that's good. That was good.
I'm left speechless on that one.
Now Tom's going to demand to be on the show. Just so
I demand equal time. Yes.
Yeah, we've got to do an equal time argument now. Oh, man.
God. Counterpoint.
You let Faden on, now let me on. Damn it. Maybe he might have something. He may have something to pimp as well, or is he? I don't know. He's
Fairness in media, says Dandelion, and that's correct. You should have him on.
Nah. Well, I mean, I swear he has a new project every 2 weeks, so it's like we can't have him on all the time. I mean, he's got something going on constantly.
But then we never have him on. That's the problem. So we have to have him on.
Yeah.
He can talk about 3D printers because I've still never, actually bought
No,
one.
you don't talk about 3D printers. You just talk about regular printers. So, Tom, I have a HP dot matrix, and the LPT port just seems to be blocked and nothing gets through somehow. How do I fix it? And you get a whole bunch of people in chat just asking stupid fucking questions about regular printers.
No, see, so for me, it'd be like, Tom, you know what? I got my Coleco out of storage, and the old daisy wheel doesn't want a daisy. What do I? That's come on.
I am going to have someone turn up at the show and like have a fucking 3D printer in front of Tom and say, "Will you help me calibrate this, please?"
Oh
And
my God.
I swear I'm going to do it.
That would be hilarious.
I'd pay for that. I'm not saying how much I'd pay, but I'd certainly pay for that.
Well, not much. Hopefully, if it's Tom, we'll put it to
Well,
the Anti-Tom Foundation.
My beating heart to be still.
I'm IMing Tom, telling you you're besmirching him. So we'll see if we get any response out of him.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be vitriol. It may even be Alyssa Who.
Yeah, that would be following the script, wouldn't it? Yes.
Yes. I do not know who you're talking about at all. By the way, my next project is I'm doing Roman era walls on for 3D printing. Alyssa's not allowed to buy any of the files.
Oh, it'll be like that freaking the two London artists. What is it? Where one of them bought the perfect black, so the other one created Black 3.0, and it's like you can't sell this. Like Stuart Semple created it and said you can't sell it to. I don't know the artist's name now, but it'll be just like that. Tullis creates a 3D printer and says you can't sell it to, or no, Alyssa Faden. Yes.
There you go. By the way, Jack just called you out. We're sorry.
Oh boy, yeah. Tom's he's hot. So yeah. So
And by the way, sinew grab, I will absolutely keep you to that, my friend. Believe me, I have a lot of 3D files to print.
Oh boy.
Oh.
He said, "Oh yeah, he had some choice words." Okay, well that's good. So we can probably count on Tom in a future. He just had to be right there, just listening to or waiting for me to IM him. So funny. It's almost like he was watching the show. I wonder, he might actually have a crush on you or something. It's probably some kind of sick thing like that, isn't it? It's like a sick sexual thing or something weird.
Yeah, he's probably imagining what would my head look like if it was completely shaved.
Yeah.
Would it be the type of head that would go alongside his?
Oh, now you're saying Tom Tullis and sick in the same sentence, like it's something different and strange, and not meant to be together. Therein lies the issue.
We've all seen. If you're a Facebook friend, you've all seen the post. So yeah, it's disturbing looking and a disturbing mind. But we're rooting for you. We're rooting for you, Alyssa. We're on your side. We're all on your side. Until we get Tom on the show, then we'll jump.
And then we'll be on Tom's side.
Then we'll jump because we just we're the media. We like to have engagement, or as we call it, negative thoughts. So yeah, we want a feud with you too. It helps our engagement.
Yeah,
well, and that's where the title of this video becomes Alyssa hates on Tullis, right? You got to go for the.
Oh, I gotta edit that for the replay.
Beautiful. Yes. See that would get us engagement. Now you know how the big companies work. That's definitely would help.
Yeah,
that would help our algorithm. I mean, the most watched show we ever had was the one where we were ripping on TSR Part 3 or whatever the hell they were.
Oh, I wish I'd been part of that show. Shit, that was a shitstorm.
Yeah, now it's kind of faded away, mostly.
Yeah, there's still been a few rumblings, but for the most part, they disappeared.
I have some fucking opinions on that, and that is not gone away. That is just gone quiet.
Please share. Please share with us.
No, I'm sure it's exactly the same as you guys' opinion, without a doubt. But the movers and shakers are still there. Just someone took the mic out of their fucking hand and would said, "Will you shut the fuck up for a moment?" But they're still there. You know what I'm saying?
But they've had a divorce. Actually, it's more like a separation because they were never actually married, from my understanding. So there was no actual, I guess, legal paperwork bringing Wonderfilled into the fold of TSR. So the breakup was more like, oh, let's move in together. Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're an asshole. All right, I'm going to move out, but I'm taking a microwave with me. But wait a second. But I was going to use your microwave. No, it's my microwave. Oh, and it's my dog, too. But it's been my dog for 7 years. No, but I'm going to take it now.
Oh,
so it's kind of like that.
By the way,
No,
Giantlands had an update today too. See, we were just so
wait,
having so much
I
fun
missed,
talking to Alyssa, we didn't get time to talk about this week in stupid.
all right. Well,
because
listen here. We're going to do 5 minutes of news. I'm going to start out with good news first.
By the way, Eric,
Yes.
Giantlands wrote to me on Twitter.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Just so you know, at the beginning of this whole TSR3, and they
wanted
me.
maps?
They wanted me to draw some maps for them.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
because we've got a lot of big names involved. So
yes.
I had a very professional response for them, and it was very professional. But it was so professional they never wrote back again.
That's pretty professional.
Because I had a lot of
good.
I had a lot of questions for them that basically ran along the lines of, so I need to know this, and this, and this. By the way, I heard that you have a top tier art director involved now. So if you want me to talk to him on your behalf, I will happily do so. Yeah, they didn't write back.
Oh, yes. The art director that was never actually hired. But name drops.
Yes.
Yeah,
so what do we know about these guys right now?
Well, here, before we do TSR, I want to do the good news, the good update, because I think that this is important, and it's blown past any expectations that I've had. So I want to give 2 thumbs up to Benoit. Memorial Tomb hit, I think it's 5th straight week.
5th straight week.
So, I mean, it's hitting all cylinders for the promised stretch goals. I'm damn near speechless. So this is the kind of news that you want to see in the community. So huge props to Benoit. I just wanted to throw that out before we start trashing the others that need it. But I wanted to get the good vibes in. Get the good vibes in before we start going. Wonderful did what? What's the latest update, Mike?
Hold on, I'm putting a quote from Tom Tullis up here. He wanted.
Oh, jeez.
He wouldn't know. He wouldn't listen to see this, and so I think there's something wrong with him. That it's kind of disturbing. I don't know if he's okay or not. If anybody knows him personally, you might want to call him and make sure that
he didn't say that.
That's what he said. That's a direct quote from what he said. So I'm a little worried about him right now.
Oh, okay. Somebody has a doppelganger our Tom Tullis.
Yeah, that's not the real Tom Tullis. You know when the Terminator calls his parents?
Yes.
Right? You just basically did that. That's not Tom Tullis. Tom Tullis is dead.
This is not the Tom Tullis I know.
Anyway, so the Giantlands had an update. They're pretty much going the final pass on the Giantlands book. They say they're coming on the home stretch, and they still have a bunch of questions. Apparently, I don't know what happened, but people that gave them money when Lanasa and them were teamed up together, I'm wondering where they sent the money to, because there's a lot of questions here about, hey, am I going to get my copy of Giantlands? I sent the money to TSR Games.
What did you think was going to happen?
TSR Games is not Giantlands, and so they're a little upset. And of course, they can't get their money back now because the Square account's been shut down. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of responses.
What did you think was going to happen? Use your brain just a little bit. That this whole pre-order something that doesn't exist yet from a company that doesn't exist.
What? There's nothing wrong with that? Come on.
At this point, honestly, you got what you deserved and learn from it. Life is all about sometimes learning experiences. I've had them. It's not what you do right now, it's how you react and how you grow from it. Fuck.
2 of the responses are, why am I not receiving updates? I also think I was banned from their page. I pre-ordered back in June and have emailed many times to keep getting no answers. Please help. Next response was, they post randomly here but ignore us. No replies to email, nothing, and no one picks up their phone. I'm done with this scam. You know, Eric and I talked about this last week. I don't even know where to start with it. I mean, when you which this was kind of a virtue signal, that people we're going to buy from TSR to support you guys because the right guys are mad at you, and we hate those guys too. That's not a reason to buy a game.
No.
buy a game because you want to play the game. You want that game, not because you want to stick it to somebody. That's not a reason to buy a game. And so, yeah, I don't feel a lot of sympathy for these people now that are like, hey, hey, did you get my order? I'm not getting any phone. I'm trying to call you. Nothing's happening. I've emailed you. No contact. Yes, and like you said, that they haven't produced anything yet. There's nothing produced there. It's all a pre-order. So you're just throwing your money into space and hoping that something comes back. I mean, you're throwing your money out the window and hoping there's a knock on your door and you're gonna run down there and there's gonna be a pop.
Mike, there's only 2,000 box sets that have been pre-ordered that they need to sell. Only 2,000 box sets. I'm not even gonna ask how many box sets of Swords and Wizardry were produced for the Kickstarter. I don't need to know. But guess what? This Kickstarter only sold 66 copies. So that tells me that there's going to be a hell of a lot of box sets sitting in Don Hart's living room.
Well, then he can fill out his orders then. It'll work out perfectly that he can fill his orders because he has a lot of people that are worried that they're not getting their orders. So,
but I ordered 7 sets for everybody in my group, even the ones that don't want to play it.
Those were just terrible emails. I remember all those. This is like the kind of quote that people are getting. It's just really. We put it up here so I can get it here. But yeah, this is what their page is full of. Well, did it go up there? I guess it did.
See, is this the Giantlands page or the Wonderfilled page?
I usually go to the Giantlands page. It seems like there's more engagement there.
I'm not seeing much there right now, sadly.
Well, okay. maybe you're blocked. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. No, you have to go in the threads and read the latest on the threads and stuff.
Okay. I see the James Ward video where people are complaining. Does he know how you're ignoring your customers? Does he know? Is he complicit? So this is not gonna be.
Yeah, it was supposed to be out in August. It's not going to be out in August. Now, I will say
it was supposed to be out a year and a half ago.
A year and a half ago. I will say that at least they are doing regular posts on the Giantlands page saying, "Hey, Jim's doing this, Jim's that." So they're not completely disappeared. It's not like they're not doing anything at all. But I have the feeling from what I'm seeing, they're not contacting customers and telling them, look, here's how your orders, here's what's going on. They're kind of saying, look, we're posting something online that should be enough for you. We're not going to answer any individual inquiries.
Well, hypothetically, and I'm going to throw this out there, and I have no inside information on this, but if they were sending money to TSR 3, we'll call it TSR 3, and not to Wonderfilled or Wonderfilled, and then they broke off with TSR. And pretty much like the Odd Couple, they went their separate ways. The wives kicked them out with the frying pan. They weren't given the list of customers that TSR got to their PayPal account or whatever they were getting it to. So they probably have no idea. These customers that are we don't have any sales record for these people that sent money to TSR when we claimed that we were married to TSR. But we were just living together.
Yeah, no,
cohabitating.
Yeah, good luck with getting your money back on that one. By the way,
one assumes at this point, though, Giantlands has a contract with Wonderfilled or TSR 3, right? In theory, best business practices. And if TSR 3 or Wonderland was collecting money on behalf of pre-orders for Giantlands, Giantlands would be able to gather such a customer list.
You would think so.
You would think, and would also gather deposited funds thereof to be able to actually honor fulfillment on that.
My understanding, and this is from numerous sources, but not directly from any of the people involved, just people that know people. So I'm going to throw this out there as a rumor, but rumor has it that none of the parties involved, as of at least 4 weeks ago, at least prior to the breakup of the company, actually signed any contract. It was all verbal.
Oh boy.
This is my understanding. My understanding could be wrong. I can only go by what I've heard, the rumors I've heard from other people. I am not saying this is fact. Okay, I am saying This is what I've heard. And if that's the case, and it is certainly possible that Wonderfilled does not have a customer list for customers that pay TSR directly, if there was never actually a merging of the companies or such.
Ouch.
I mean, it could have. Listen, it could be wrong, but the way the breakup went down was pretty quick for a breakup. If this company had actually been all these people on paper, just my perspective. But again,
well, we'll keep watching the situation because it's been.
It seems like Giantland's moving in the right direction. This though is going to haunt them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. They posted something. This is earlier today. I'll post it here. This is actually on the Wonderfield page, which I didn't check earlier. I probably should have checked that too. But yeah, this is something I'm going to post right here. By the way, Tullis said about you. Alyssa's a saint. Rich deserves all the success and much more. I agree with him on that. I still don't think that's actually Tom, but well.
Yeah,
that's his wife or something. At this
point. It makes me very afeared.
So they said on their page, as a reminder, we're a small Wisconsin business. We don't have big corporate resources or manpower. Your time, purchase, and attention help us grow. We appreciate it. That to me is what I always like to call the cop-out answer. We're just a small mom and pop. We don't have time to really get to all you guys. I mean, we love you guys, but we just don't have time. No. The fact that you're a small mom and pop means you have more time to deal with your. Yeah, you should have more time.
But wait, all that time is going for the theme park, Mike. This post about the theme park.
I'm not.
It's getting theme park's moving along. So if you want to go in your poncho plastic costume that you thought you were going to play with at the table, and you can now take it to
I'm getting that fucking lobster costume of Kurt Gold, and I'm going in that.
Well, you know what? It would probably be appropriate to play Giantland since they expect you to play in costume.
There you go.
So there you go. That's the way I know I played back in the 80s. I took my $3 Halloween poncho costume and I role played it at the table.
Yeah, just a skeleton. Yeah,
and
run around the table,
and then my other friends beat the shit out of me.
As well they should.
Yes, as well they should. It's the reason why I'm so well adjusted now.
So we're 15 minutes over our time. It looks like we're 30 minutes over. We started late because of me. We went over 15 minutes because we're just having so much fun.
Look at the company we had.
Talking to Alyssa. And we barely even talked about maps. We didn't even talk about maps. We just talked about whatever the hell went into our heads, which is why
this was a night at the tavern. Really, this was
true.
We're all drinking and we're talking, and
if we were hanging out at my local pub, this would be the conversation that we'd have. But we would all be drinking whiskey like Mike, and my bar bill would probably be significant. I would have gotten the munchies.
Well, I saw Alyssa putting away a few too. So between me and Alyssa, you'd be in big trouble.
Well, yeah, because I had Jack delivering them to me. So.
Oh well. Yeah, if I asked Race to deliver me booze during one of these, she'd be like, "Get up and get it yourself." I love you. But get up and get it. Which is why I set myself up ahead of time.
Mike, what is that you're drinking right there? That was an interesting bottle.
This is given to me. It's Belfour whiskey. The Dallas Stars hockey team had a goalie named Belfour. This is his company. He made his own Texas whiskey. I've tried it. It's okay.
Okay.
It's about a $50 bottle of whiskey. I've been trying to become more conversant in Texas whiskeys because there's so many Texas whiskey companies that have popped up in the last decade. There's one called Balcone, so that's my favorite. It's very, very good. They do small batch. It used to be extremely hard to get. They only made X amount of bottles every year. They would sell out immediately. So they started doing larger batches of maybe not higher as quality, but it's still about a $50 to $100 bottle of whiskey. Those are really good. But the Belfour is okay. I'm not as impressed with it as I was with the Balcones, but yeah, I'm just trying a bunch of Texas whiskeys, and I had somebody buy that for me. So interesting bottle. I'll probably start working on this next week at our show next week, and so. We'll go with that for a while. I know you're not supposed to be mixing $50 bottle of whiskey with Diet Coke, but hey.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah.
I'd be pouring it over ice myself, but that's just
Well,
That's
we'll
just
see what
how I
happens
am.
next week. I may do shots of it next week. I don't know. We'll just see what happens. You have to tune in next week to see what happens.
Oh my God, folks, dangerous stuff. Dangerous. Listen, we're gonna wrap it up. We could keep this going for another hour, but then
Oh my gosh.
we have to do like a 5-minute bio break in the middle, and nobody wants that kind of. Then this thing becomes too real. It's like, oh, geez.
I just took one right now. I just took one right now, so I mean, I'm probably okay. Oh, TMI. I'm sorry.
So Mike, do you work for? Are you an astronaut, Mike? Are you looking to kill your spouse? Is that what you're doing? Wasn't that the astronaut that like drove cross country with the Pentagon?
Yes, that was a weird story. How did you remember that? Why does that story pop in your head? That was
You
creepy.
told me.
That was a creepy
well,
story.
you're creeping me out. Just telling me that you're just. Never mind. As you can tell, we had a fucking awesome time. And yes, we curse. And I will apologize to my niece if she checks this out.
Yikes!
She listens into like almost all the shows.
Oh.
Shannon, like you said, you have a daddy. You've heard all the words.
Yeah.
So Uncle gets a pass now.
Shannon, you didn't hear it from me.
No,
I don't swear like your fucking uncle does.
No,
you fucking curse too. Fuck that shit. Fuck that.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can tell we're not monetized. We don't give a flying fuck.
No, definitely not.
Folks, quick things. When we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're about 25 away. We're gonna give away $500 in drive-through RPG Now gift certificates.
Sub now, you motherfuckers! Hit that sub button. Come on.
We are going to give away this dice box.
Oh,
this is from a Kickstarter that I backed. I ordered 3. Rach stole the first one. I got the second one. You will get the third.
Nice.
Shipped to within the U.S. only because I don't own a magical portal to transport shit across the world, and it's too expensive to ship elsewhere. But within the States, we'll be giving away that too. Yes, subscribe. Listen, we talk about COVID. I always talk about COVID, and all I ever ask you to do is use your common sense. Before the show, myself and Alyssa were talking about conventions and what's going on with masks and all this stuff. Listen, common sense is going to be the best way to get past this whole situation. Take precautions that will keep yourself, your friends, your family, your loved ones healthy and safe. Okay? I think we covered it with that. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. And I'll be back tomorrow. I believe Friday live stream 8 o'clock with Joe the Lawyer. Saturday, Gamers Health with my lovely wife Rach, freshly retired.
Joe the Lawyer. That way I won't have to work on a Friday again. Woohoo! Yes. And then Glenn will be back. Glenn will be back the week after that, we're hoping. So.
Yes. So, again, thank you, folks. Thanks to our live audience. You've all been great. I will catch you later. And thanks again to Alyssa.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you all.
And thanks to Tom Tullis, who wasn't here.
You, Tom.
But your bald head was here in spirit.
Oh, we love you. We love you, Tom. You're a classy guy, as we see by your comments there.
Yes. I'll kiss you on the forehead next time I see you.
No. I mean,
maybe not. Maybe.
You know where that forehead's been. Yikes.
Well, we probably do, but we don't want to think about it. All right.
Good night, everyone.